Uh,
I need to actually remember to set up the timer. Timer's good. Head over to YouTube. Oh, I did. Did you watch the yeah, I did send you the trailer, right? For Spider-Man?
yeah, you did. I
Okay.
did watch it.
Okay, good. It's not in my news roundup, so we're going to do that first so I don't forget to talk
Whoops.
about it. Okay. Then I need the link. Which one?
Yeah, the one of my movies, the one that's about the 90s, or it's got 90s in the title, is a Hallmark movie,
Oh. Well, all right
which
then.
was on which was on Netflix and has no Wikipedia link.
Oops, that's not it. Shit.
Oh, it
Story.
says we're live.
We are indeed live. I'm just sending the.
Channel. Oh, yeah, you can hear me, and we can hear you. All right,
Welcome
sounds
to
good.
the YouTube preamble, everybody, where we test the settings and make sure that everyone can hear us all good. And where
This
I.
is just this is just about the only editing that Justin does is when he cuts this part out.
That is true. If you listen to the show on Spotify, you don't get this good shit. Oh, right now you're staring at the OBS screen, though. You could be staring at me and Jordan.
A much better sight, some would say.
There we go. Some might say. Let's share the
I don't know who, but some would.
let's share the live to Facebook. Yeah, welcome to a very late Spur of the Moment podcast where we will be friggin' loopy because I'll be loopy because it's much
Mm.
later in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's coming up too. That's like 3 hours. This is when we'd be finishing normally.
Right? It's okay. It's a one time. Next weekend it goes back to normal at 11 a.m.
I blame you.
Blame Walmart.
I I blame you.
You don't need to know why we're blaming Walmart. All you need to know is that you need to blame Walmart.
Can't I blame both?
You can. Okay, sorry.
And and I do.
Doing a podcast. We're live right now doing a podcast. This episode is
Why
brought
did
to you
you
by an additional
stop
can of
that?
Monster. Hey, are you tired? Did you have one can of Monster? You should try an additional can of Monster.
That sounds healthy.
Mmm. Oh, so healthy. Okay, let me set my timer up. Let's do the countdown, Jordan. Oh, should we? You know what, Jordan? Since it's the New Year's special, should we open with the prototype theme song?
Yes.
Let's do it. Now, how do we want to do we do the theme song after I do the? Yeah, we'll do the theme song after I do the. Okay, here we go. In three, two, one. This podcast is brought to you by the Arte Media Pantheon. Please head to artemedia.org to see all sorts of other podcasts from our great friends. And if you would like to create your own podcast, they can provide you with the tools and resources to do so there. You know what? I'm going to redo that because I didn't hit the timer. That was bad.
God
Right?
damn it, Justin. We had a flawless
That was flawless,
execution.
a flawless intro. Anyway, in three, two, I looked down at the timer while it going. I was like, you know what? Let's just redo this. We're early enough.
Uh,
In three,
uh,
two, one. This podcast is brought to you by the Arte Media Pantheon. Please head to artemedia.org to see plenty of podcasts from our great friends. And if you would like to start your own podcast, they can provide you with the tools and resources to do so there. That's artemedia.org. ARETE media.org. Hey, Jordan! You want to hear that theme
nailed it.
song?
Nailed it. First try.
First try. You want to hear that theme song, Jordan?
I mean, the brand new one that you've teased in the past.
Yeah, let's do it. Theme song time.
Sunday morning, sun shines bright. The AM, it feels just right. Justin Spurr and Jordan too. They got the talks just for you. Movies old and movies new. Pop culture trends, they pull you through. Got your ear till the end. Feels like talking to a friend. Spur out the morning at 11. Feels like pop culture heaven. Tune in when Sunday arrives. Feel the podcast come alive.
Stop it. Should be back now. We should be back now.
Okay, all right.
We're still.
I was making sure I was listening to it live.
We're still figuring out the timing of the theme song.
It's brand new.
Welcome to this Spur of the Moment podcast, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our new theme song. I am, as always,
used to it.
Get used to it. We're gonna learn the timing of that and not be awkward when we come back. Welcome to the Spur of the Moment podcast. I'm, as always, is always your host. I'm Justin Spurr, everybody. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, the incomparable Jordan. We're late today, guys, but hey, we're gonna have a good time. It's the New Year's special, everybody. It's the last show of the year. And so on today's show, because it's that weird, awkward time between New Year's and Christmas, there isn't a ton of news. So we don't got a ton of news. But Tim Allen has nice things to say about Toy Story 5. There's a trailer for Season 2 of Doctor Who. James Gunn talked to Zack Snyder about the Superman costume. What if... we got What If, and then later we're gonna talk about the Doctor Who Christmas special and What If Season 3, the final season, also not good. And then later, as the title suggests, it's stuff we missed, movies, TV shows, stuff we didn't get to watch this year. And the question is gonna be, Jordan, were we correct to skip it? Were we right? Were our instincts right to not watch it in theaters and waste our money, or when it first came out?
And there might be one or two things that we did see because I just wanted to rewatch one of them.
There might be one or two things we did see.
Also, I'm gonna use her username here. Literary and Lingerie says, "Ooh, live chat," and then said that music reminds me of a '90s sitcom opening where the dramatic laugh or where's the dramatic laugh or hug at the end?
Well, that's why I like the little bit where we laugh, because it's like cut to laugh and go to black. Yes, that was kind of here's what I'll say. Okay, that's not the full version of that song. There is in fact a full version that is actually kind of a good song. If we hit 100 subscribers, we'll do a listen along, and we'll listen to the full version. Also, there's more than one theme song. I just like that one because it's like low energy. What we do here is low energy. Everything else, Jordan can attest. It was all too high energy.
She says, yes, I noticed that. But also, much like any good sitcom, if the show's on long enough, you end up having like 2 or 3 or 4 different theme songs over the years.
I have them when we eventually start doing dream big. But if we ever do live appearances, I've got our live show theme song all queued up.
He's a big dreamer, this one.
I dream big. Jordan, let's start with Toy Story 5 update given by Tim Allen. Jordan.
She says, quick, make 14 more accounts to hit 100.
I'm not gonna say I didn't do that to hit 69, so we could do our R-rated comedy episode, which the bit failed anyway. Go check out our R-rated comedy episode to find out how that worked out. Jordan, Tim Allen. So apparently, I don't know if you know this, Jordan. In Toy Story 5, the bad guys is Buzz Lightyear.
Wait, what?
The bad guy.
Oh, yeah, right. How it's much like in the second one, it's a wall of different Buzz Lightyears. Yeah.
But this time it's apparently going to be multiple, but it's going to be like an army of evil Buzz Lightyears, and they're all going to be faulty. Yeah, and so obviously Tim Allen he's very excited for this one because it's incredibly Buzz Lightyear focused for some reason, and.
I mean, I kind of don't mind that it's Buzz Lightyear focused. If I had it my way, Woody would retire in the sunset, because he did at the end of the fourth one.
Sorry, I'm reading this article. It says, later in this interview, Allen praised the story of the film, noting that it's not being made to make money or to be successful, but it's being made because the story is really good. I'm sorry, Tim Allen, it's the 5th one. It's money.
No, it's made for money.
It's money, Tim Allen. It's money.
It's money.
I just love it. It's a very, very clever story. Do you want 5 of these? I don't believe it's about the money. I'm sure they want it to be a success, but that's not why they did it. Oh, honey, Tim Allen. It's the money. It's because
It's the money.
it's because Lightyear did terribly. So they're like, oh no.
We have to go back to formula. We tried something bold, and people weren't brave enough to go and like it.
Right? Oh, apparently I have that in twice. Yeah. So we're gonna spoil. If you haven't seen the end of Sonic 3, we have to talk about some stuff about the end of Sonic 3. About the end of that movie.
Do we? I thought we did that last week.
Well, there's some news about what's coming up and what was supposed to be in there. Apparently,
So spoiler warning right here, right now.
yeah, apparently the director of the Sonic 3 movies, and he wants this iconic character to show up in later movies. You're never gonna guess what that iconic character is, Jordan.
Big the Cat.
Oh my God! How did you know it was Big the Cat?
Because that's the most ridiculous one I could think of. And
And-
he's one that the fans love, like, in spite of it.
Apparently he
Like,
was gonna be in one
ironically.
of. Apparently he was gonna be. I don't know if it was in the second or the third one. He was gonna be, and they had to cut it at the last minute. But I would love Big the Cat. Big the Cat.
You see, for me, okay, if you're gonna have Big the Cat, you can't have Big the Cat before you do Sonic Adventure, like with Chaos. He's kind of an integral part of that.
I mean, yeah, it kind of seems like the
To
next
me-
one they're doing Sonic Heroes.
Sonic Heroes / Sonic CD.
Well, it seems more Sonic Heroes because apparently this is-
Also, you know how you said to me, again, spoiler warnings for the end of Sonic 3. If Robotnik is dead, how is Metal Sonic existing? Bold of you to assume he didn't already have the body and just needed the quill to power it.
true, and also I mean, hey. All of these movies always I think I noticed is those movies always end in a fashion where Robotnik can either be dead or alive depending on how much Jim Carrey wants to come back and do another one. Like you'll notice,
Yeah,
like
that's how they ended this one,
yeah,
too.
everyone ends in so the first one ends where it's like, oh, he's off on another planet, so he could be banished and not come. In the second one, it looks like he might be dead. So yeah, you could just have it where Shadow saved him. It's like
Shadow saved him. Chaos controlled him.
But I was hoping that would tweak me on my actual Sonic story I want to talk about. So apparently they're talking 3 things for the future of this franchise. Obviously, Sonic 4, because duh, huge success, massively successful movie. Obviously, they've already announced it. They're doing Sonic 4. The second thing was it initially was going to be a Shadow TV show, but based upon the success of this movie, they're probably going to do a Shadow movie, which I'm down for. I'm down for a Shadow prequel, a fully more explored Shadow prequel with obviously Keanu Reeves as.
I'm down for that, but are they okay? If they bring back Gerald, I don't want them to bring back Gerald. I don't want Gerald in that.
I want them to be like, oh, he's young Gerald, but he's played by a different actor this time.
Part of your Broadway World podcast says, I didn't watch Sonic 1 or 2 or this third one, lol. I prefer Jim Carrey as the Grinch.
I mean, that is totally fair. That is a totally fair
He
perspective.
is pretty iconic in that movie.
That is an iconic role for him. And then the other direction they want to take it is they really want to do a chaotic spin-off, maybe in Knuckles season 2.
Like a Knuckles chaotic spinoff?
Knuckles Chaotix, yeah, Team Chaotix. The director wants Team Chaotix. Yeah, apparently that's in the word.
See,
They may do that.
If they do that, I want them to go the Sonic Hero routes of they're a detective agency, and like each episode is like a detective
For sure.
kind of thing.
I didn't love Knuckles. I didn't love it, but I will admit it maintains the sense of humor of these movies, and I had these movies share my sense of humor. So absolutely, I would watch the shit out of a Team Chaotix television show where it's like a detective show, and every episode is them solving a little self-contained mystery. I would absolutely watch that.
Part of your Broadway World podcast says, also, when did this second one happen?
2019.
Do you mean Sonic 2?
No, not 2019. Yeah, I'm guessing when did the sequel to Sonic 1 come out? Oh, not 2019. What am I talking about? Sonic 1 came out in 2020. I want to say 2022, the second one?
Let's find out.
And while you're doing that, I'll tell you the third one. I said, yeah, Knuckles movie, Team Chaotix showed Sonic 4. Yeah. So yeah, hey, look, I'm glad that these movies have done well. I want to see more of this franchise. That's it. That's my last note on that.
I mean, for whatever reason, the first release date that comes up is in France, but the year was 2022.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, that sounds about right.
But yeah, but weirdly, the first like when you
Uh,
look it up on for me anyway, under like all the information of where to watch and in a nutshell and all that, it has release date and it says March 30th, 2022, and then in big brackets it says France.
Weird, random. But I had a feeling it was 20 because it was like 2 years after Sonic 2. Then Sonic 3 was 2 years after Sonic 2, so that means Sonic 4 will be 2027. I think they've said that. I think they said it's going to be 2020. Anyway, Jordan, you're never going to get what Christopher Nolan's next movie is.
You're right. I probably am not. Is it a superhero thing?
No, it may surprise you.
Is it based on a cartoon thing?
I suppose you could maybe say that it is.
Avatar.
No, it is. You know what, Jordan? No. It's going to be based on the Odyssey. He's doing an adaptation of the Odyssey,
Really?
and that's apparently that's the one that's going to have Tom
Like
Holland and Zendaya in it.
like Odysseus,
Yeah, like Homer's Odyssey.
that. Really?
Yeah.
That's potentially a long movie.
That interests me from him because he's really good at scale and really good at massive set pieces, and the Odyssey is just chock full of that. That is a
yeah.
story that I think he's kind of suited for. I'm actually kind of
There's-
interested in this.
It's also a very long story with a lot of parts.
You
So
right?
so it's like is that's where my concern would come in is he gonna do like is it gonna be a multi-movie thing where like each movie is a part of the Odyssey? Or is it gonna be one really like squeezed down
Like
version
a
of the
3 hour
Odyssey?
version where he gets as much of it in as possible. Yeah, I don't know. And how is it gonna be? Is he gonna? He's Christopher Nolan. He's not going mythological, right?
Part of your Broadway world seems to believe that that's going to be terrible.
What the
Terrible are in big bold words.
what the Odyssey? Chris
I
Nolan?
I assume Christopher Nolan's version of the Odyssey. Is what you-
I like the Odyssey. I'm a big Greek mythology guy, so I'm a big lover of the. I would love
yeah,
to see.
but the question is he going to lean into the mythological side, or is it going to be like him trying to do like a realistic
yeah.
interpretation?
What if the
of it?
Odyssey really happened? I hope not. But it is Christopher Nolan. I could believe it.
Like selfishly, I would much prefer he teamed up with Jorge Rivera, the guy who made Epic, and they do a musical and just do Epic the musical.
I mean, look, he's a technical genius. All of his movies are technical masterpieces. So, like whether or not you like the story, they are all technical masterpieces. Like, I'm not a lover of Oppenheimer in terms of its story, but it looks great.
I'm not going to disagree.
Also, his dialogue is never boring. At least in my
I'm dying.
opinion. You are dying. Oh yeah, James Gunn. This was interesting. So James Gunn. The question of with Superman, the red trunks. He initially when he was doing the costume design, and I found this interesting. He initially wasn't going to do the red trunks.
Yeah, I heard that the actor was the one who pushed
The actor
for it.
who was the one who pushed for it, and he actually spoke to Zack Snyder about it. And Zack Snyder was like, yeah, there was just every version of it we tried. And I remember hearing an anecdote of him talking about this, being like, every version of it we tried, it didn't work.
Stupid.
It looked stupid. And I'm like, I understand. Here's the thing. I'm a lover of the red trunks because I'm a classic Superman lover. But I always understood why it went. Like, it was never a thing that I always understood why it went.
Just like I understand with Wonder Woman why in the modern comics they gave her just pants.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
Because like yeah, the original outfit was based upon a bondage outfit, and I understand when you're trying to appeal to kids that maybe you want to step away from that.
Right, but I really liked, and then again, this actor. I mean, I don't think Henry Cavill did. I don't think Henry Cavill was ever the one who didn't. We've talked to death about Henry Cavill Superman, but I will never say that he didn't understand Superman. Zack Snyder didn't, but he definitely did. But this actor, man, he understands. And James Gunn both understand Superman, and I like their explanation of it being Superman wears those trunks to intentionally look stupid. Like the
to
idea
soften
that
himself, to make himself seem more human.
And the idea, and I never liked the Zack Snyder suit being alien because that's dumb. Like the idea that it's a costume made by his mother That's the version of the suit I like. And yeah, to be more approachable to humans, the point of this Superman is that he's just a guy. I'm seriously, I said it last week, I'm gonna say it every week until I get to watch that movie. I am excited for that Superman movie.
My interest is growing.
It just seems like everyone involved just seems to get Superman. I think
Well,
this might be, since the Christopher Reeves one, it might be the first Superman movie to get Superman, you know?
For me, it's whether or not they get Superman. It certainly seems like they learned the lesson from what went wrong,
right?
And so like maybe they don't necessarily get it, but they get what didn't work,
right? Also, I've learned this since we talked about the trailer. I think last week. Yeah, last week we talked about the trailer. Remember how I was like, the version of the characters that are in this movie are a version of the Justice League. They are straight a version of the Justice League. They are the version of the Justice League called Justice League International, and it's literally every one of the people in that Justice League are in this movie. So it's like Guy Gardner, Hawkwoman, Mr. Terrific, and they are very explicitly and expressly a version of the Justice League. I've actually read one of their comics, but they're a version of the Justice League that is created for and paid for and bought by Max Lord, who is in this movie, played by Sean Gunn.
That's fair. I just don't like. I don't need another Injustice League where they're all looking to murder all their enemies.
I mean, fair enough. But I'm just saying that they are the Justice League. They're a version of the Justice League.
Like if you make it where it's like
they're precedent in the comic.
If you make it where like they're like a little bit more willing to go as close to the line as possible without actually skating over it.
Yeah.
That I can probably live with.
I'm not.
But
I don't know.
I don't need a team of heroes that's just willing to straight murder all their enemies until Superman comes along and magically teaches them that they can't murder.
I mean, true. My memory of Guy Gardner is just that he sucks. Like that he's just.
The thing is that and this is why they chose Guy Gardner, and I don't know a lot about him, but I know where he ends up. And the point of his character is he's quick to rage. He's quick to anger.
Yeah,
in the comics, he, or at least some of the comics, he ends up becoming a Red Lantern.
Yeah, but his whole thing, at least early on, he's not a murderer. Like none of these heroes are explicitly murderers. I don't think.
He's just aggressive.
But yeah, I wanted to do.
I don't mind necessarily.
I wanted to do because we're gonna talk about the stuff we missed. I do kind of want to talk about the stuff that we have to look forward to, but I ran out of time to compile a list. But that for 2025 is going to be a good year for superhero movies. I think also I'm almost sure that Fantastic Four might come out next year as well. I think
I could believe it.
But Superman, certainly, I'm excited for Superman. Spider-Man. Let's move on.
Literature and lingerie says, not a Deus Ex Machina in film. Shock face.
Right. Spider-Man. I knew I was going to forget it. It's not in my list. That Spider-Man trailer looks fun.
It looks really fun, and I don't mind the animation.
I don't mind it. I quite like it.
It definitely caught my attention. I appreciate that in this trailer they show us that he's not in his homemade suit for the entirety.
I mean,
I don't necessarily love what the suit is, but I just appreciate that he moves to a different suit.
I mean,
so like by the end of it, gives me hope that by the end of it he'll be like, you know what, I actually don't need your help, and he goes off and makes his normal suit.
That's my hope. I mean, look, okay, I love the Future Foundation suit. I love the Future Foundation suit. I love its design.
Yeah, but it's supposed to come from the Fantastic Four, not
exactly.
from Norman Osborn.
It's coming from. It looks like it's a great adaptation of the Future Foundation suit, but it's coming from the wrong guy. But also, this is a different universe where Norman Osborn is effectively his Tony Stark, essentially. But you could still see influences from. You could tell that this was going to be connected to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and then they changed it in the third hour to not be Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Because it didn't make any sense when it was Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Based upon this trailer, you can tell that was a late in the game decision because there's still references to Tom Holland's Spider-Man in this trailer. But hey, It looks
Part
good.
of your Broadway World podcast. I believe this is a show.
This is a
I
show.
believe this is going to be a show. That's what she said. We don't. She said in big bold caps because the caps are important for the Spotify listeners. We don't need another Superman. Oh, she's talking Superman, not Spider-Man. Superman movie. We have 5.
We don't. Well, I mean, we do, but we don't have. I mean, 4 of those are from the like the
And and
1980s.
and then she said, same with Spider-Man. We don't need any more. Respectfully,
Oh, respectfully disagree with that one.
disagree.
As for Superman, I mean, we haven't had a Superman movie in, if you don't count Batman versus Superman, in almost 10 years.
I don't.
It's 8 years, I guess, technically, because it came out in 2017. So it's been a
And-
while
and-
since the Superman movie, and
and
4 of those came out in the
realistically-
1970s and 80s.
Realistically, those should be buried and lost to the annals of history.
I
So we'll
mean-
just go all the way back to Superman Returns.
Also, I mean, yeah, and also like Superman, the 4 of those movies are from the 1970s and 80s. They're really old. One of them is Superman Returns. So like Superman is not super represented in movies. Spider-Man, okay, yeah, okay, I can maybe see the argument that maybe he's overrepresented in media currently. But I don't care. I like that character, and the show looks fun.
One could, make a comparison to Beating a Dead Horse. You're not right, part of your Broadway World podcast.
Shut up! I'm having fun. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Um,
I think that's.
but by that same token, there's different things for different people.
Also-
Some people want to watch a new Superman movie.
I'm down for a new Spider-Man thing.
And Spider-Man too. But yeah, no, the Spider-Man thing looks interesting, and literature and lingerie says you expect Hollywood to come up with a new idea, and then LOL in caps.
Hey! They do come up with new ideas, but the dumb. Oh man. People always get upset when I say this. The dumb sheeple out there don't watch the new shit, the interesting shit, or the unique shit. They watch the Marvel shit, and that's what makes the money. So Hollywood goes, "That's okay." Come on, Allie. Hollywood constantly and consistently learns the wrong lesson. Would you not agree, Jordan? Is that not a lesson we learn on this show all the time?
I mean, we do learn that they frequently learn the wrong lesson. People go out to a thing that's exactly the same as the other 10 movies that they've seen, and they think, well, they just want more of the same.
We're
and then a
sort
new
of guilty about
creative
that.
thing. Like a perfect example is you have a great movie like The Wild Robot what comes out, but Moana 2 comes out at around the same time, and everybody takes their parents to Moana 2, even though that one was made for streaming.
Right.
And Wild Robots is a beautiful, artistic, fantastic movie.
Right.
I cannot speak highly enough for it.
Right? Yeah, people don't go to watch. Although the Wild Robot didn't do badly, that one did okay. But yeah, people don't go to watch the Wild Robot. They go to watch the Moana 2s. Hollywood learning the wrong lesson. Hey, speaking of Hollywood learning the wrong lesson,
Part of your Broadway World podcast says, name one time they came up with anything new. Lol. The Wild Robot.
Wild Robot is new. What last week we talked about Klaus. Klaus is new. That's not a sequel or a remake. I mean, I don't think it's an adaptation. I'm pretty sure that's new. What did I watch this? We watched some new stuff this week. There's lots of stuff. If you're looking in the independent circuit, I watched The Substance. That's not a sequel, or we're gonna talk about that later. It's disgusting, but it's spoiler alert. But it's an original concept. There's new and original movies all the time if you know where to look.
I mean, there are a lot of recycles though. But I think we can all agree on that.
We can all agree on that. Yeah. There's a lot of Xerox movies out there. We've talked about them.
Literature and Lingerie says Jordan makes a good point because the marketing for Moana 2 was big, but I never heard of Wild Robots.
Oh,
you should check out Wild Robots.
Yes.
I think it's coming to streaming soon.
It should. It's The Wild Robot.
The Wild Robot.
The Wild
sorry.
Robot. Yeah. Important to get that title correct. Yeah, DreamWorks, The Wild Robot. Hey, if you're a new subscriber, like Lingerie and Literature is, in which episode did we do that in? We did a review of that movie where we talked very highly of it.
Ago.
But yeah, if you know anybody who has children, it is a good sweet little movie. Very cute, very good. Totally worth checking out.
She says, so even the way they market the movies makes a big difference.
Oh, for
and then
sure.
she said, it looks really good. I would watch it. It is really
Also,
good.
also,
I can't speak highly enough for it. It's a beautiful movie.
a lot of times with Disney in particular, people will watch it because it's Disney. Or like, okay,
Yeah,
the
you
best
can
example
never
of
you can never underestimate the branding power of the mouse.
oh, for sure. And I mean, hey, look, Deadpool and Wolverine made a crap ton of money, and it's all thing you recognize. So be prepared for a whole, like, at least 2 to 3 years of thing you recognize, because that movie made a bunch of money. And it's like, that's not why that movie's good, but that's the lesson that Hollywood will learn. Speaking of Hollywood learning the wrong lessons, well, actually, no, we'll do one final news story, and then I've got two more news stories, but they're related to the next two things we're going to talk about. So, Jordan, remember we've talked about it on the show before. I was going to watch it for the show, but for our Christmas episode, but I decided to lean more to stuff I hadn't seen for that episode. But we affectionately call it Santa Claus Does a Die Hard. But Violent Night, it's been given an update by screenwriters Pat Casey and John Miller. And it looks like they're still making it. And it says the Violent Night movies are not as big budget as the Sonic movies, but we still want them to feel bigger than the first one. We don't want it to be Sonic trapped in a mansion again. And what they promise the sequel will include more David Harbour. And the Santa Claus is going to take his shirt off even more in this one, because that's what we know people want.
That's why people went to watch it. Obviously, nothing else.
I mean, not because it's fun to watch Santa Claus murder people with a hammer.
No. It's David Harbour without a shirt on. That's definitely the reason. Also, Literature and Lingerie says the masses should go crazy over the casting of Pedro Pascal in that movie. Haha.
Of what, Fantastic Four? I mean, I don't love Fantastic. I love Pedro Pascal. I mean, more and more, I'm loving Pedro Pascal. Although I've seen some footage from that movie because they showed a trailer at they showed a trailer at one of the D23s, and they didn't release it online, but you can find bootlegs of it. And like, they're full bore, like they're in really. It looks. Because for those of you who don't know, I do a podcast about Star Trek. It looks, because the aesthetic is supposed to be retro futuristic 1960s. It looks 1960s.
Wild robots. She said no. Wild robots.
Oh, Wild Robot does. Wait. What about Wild
Pedro
Robot?
Pascal? Pedro Pascal was in Wild Robots.
Was he? Who was he? Who was he? Oh yeah, right. He's the I thought you were talking about Fantastic Four. Right, he is in Wild Robot. Yeah. He's the fox.
I believe so, yeah.
Right, I forgot about that. Oh my god, I got confused. I thought you were talking about Fantastic Four.
That was like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That was a whole
we've
2 or
watched
3 weeks ago.
We've watched like 20 movies since then.
But back to Violent Night. Yeah, my pitch for the next movie is other holiday creatures. Yeah. I want to see I want to see him team up with that universe's version of the Easter Bunny.
Yeah, he was Fink in Wild Robots,
yes,
and he's in Fantastic Four.
Yes, he is.
Sorry, you want to see a team up of who?
In the Violent Night universe, I want them to do that universe's version of like the Guardians, basically. I want to see him team up with that universe's version of like the Easter Bunny, and he's just a psychopath who mauls people, mauls bad guys.
I mean, yeah, that could be fun if you create, like, each of them has their own movie, and then you have the Avengers movie where they all come together.
I want him to. No, I don't think they need. I don't need their own individual movies. I just want him to show up in.
I want a Tooth Fairy who's a masculine man like The Rock, and he rips people's teeth out.
I mean, that would be funny. I kind of was leaning more towards it. She's a woman and she's tiny, but she's just a total psycho.
That could be funny too.
But yeah, I will watch 100 of those movies. That first one is really good, genuinely really good.
Literature says fair. Pedro Pascal is in everything now.
He's very overexposed, but I love him, so I'm willing to tolerate it. If you're a video game person, that last of his show is really good. That first season is really good, and I like him. I just don't feel him as Reed Richards.
Depends on how much you like The Last of Us, to be fair. I tried watching that show and I fell asleep. I mean, never went back to it. Just like the game, where I get to a certain point and then never go back to it.
It's true. You know, it's a good show though, and it's a good game. It's worth checking out. Also, I really like Joseph Quinn as Johnny Torch. Johnny Storm. I really like him as Johnny Storm, and that behind the scenes footage looks really good.
See, I need to see a full trailer for Fantastic Four because I'm not the biggest Fantastic Four fan to begin with.
Either.
I generally find that they're only interesting when Doctor Doom shows up or when they're teamed up with like another team or another hero who I find interesting.
I
So
mean,
like I really like them when they team up with Spider-Man, for
yeah.
example, or like when you see team ups between them and like Fantastic or not Fantastic Four, X-Men characters like Wolverine or Storm
I'm
or
excited for this one because they're doing Galactus and it's a guy.
yeah, that's also exciting. That's
I just
but to be fair, that's another one of their characters that where it's like I guess what I guess my thing is with the Fantastic Four is a lot of their villains are more interesting than
oh
they
for sure
are.
yeah, and they outlive their like start off in their stuff and then like evolve past
Go
them.
on to
Yeah, like
exactly.
way past them. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And I'm like the minute you're like okay yeah, the minute I'm like Doctor or Galactus and it's a guy in a stupid hat, I'm like that's doing a lot of heavy lifting. It's doing so much heavy lifting for me. Even if I don't like Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, it is doing so much heavy lifting. But hey, let's keep in the
Um,
realm of Marvel.
Literature says I'm just a Laura Bailey fangirl, which, to be fair, how could you not be? But also, is she in Fantastic Four?
I don't know. I don't know. I have not
I
heard.
like I absolutely understand why you're a Laura Bailey fangirl. I love Critical Role, and I'm also a Laura Bailey fangirl. In Campaign 2, every one of the characters on that show gets a crush on her character, and I think it's largely just because of her.
Well, it's funny.
Um,
I watching yeah, Critical Role was funny for me because in the case of Laura Bailey and Travis Willingham and oh why can I Sam Riegel, I knew them like going into it.
oh, I see. Last of Us game is what
Oh
she's referring to. Yeah, she's also in the show as a
I
cameo.
thought
Her and Ashley Johnson are
yep.
both in the live action show as
They
cameo
absolutely are.
roles.
They absolutely are. Yeah, well, and Ashley Johnson. Ashley Johnson is so funny because I will never forget when I saw the movie What Women Want and I realized she was Gretchen because there's a
Yeah.
scene in that movie and it's like she's like I grew up with her. Like I grew up with Ashley Johnson, so that's
I mean,
wild to me.
pretty much all the voice actors on Critical Role, you know them from something. Like you know
I grew up with
each of them
almost
from
all of them.
something.
Yeah, like Sam Riegel
Yeah.
for me, he's Donatello on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 4 Kids one.
I also recognize Sam Riegel. He has a very distinct
Yeah,
voice, but I also
absolutely.
recognize Sam Riegel from the Melancholy of Haruhi
Oh yeah,
Suzumiya.
so for me, he's gonna be Donatello on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Laura Bailey is Trunks. She was Trunks when
Yeah,
I was a
yeah,
kid.
she was Trunks for the longest
Um,
time. She's also and they've all been on Naruto at some point, but she's one of the characters on Naruto.
the only one who wasn't really in it. The only two are Marisha Ray and Matt Mercer. But Matt Mercer, I will never forget his name because another mutual friend of the show, Tall Girl, um, she was really in when we knew her years ago. She was really into Prototype and the character Matt Mercer in Prototype.
Oh,
And so that's why
it's
I'm not.
played by Matthew Mercer.
I no, it's just his name. The character's name is Matthew
Oh,
Mercer, and she was
that
really
that
into that
that
character.
that would be funny if he was
And so
played by
I've
Matt
never
Mercer,
forgotten
though.
his name because of that. And I don't know if he does. And I think she got
Um,
really into the actor Matthew. But yeah, they've Travis Willingham I know is Thor. So it's just that show's really funny because like yeah, that the Critical Role is very funny because they talk about doing all this crazy like voice acting stuff just so
voice actor stuff.
casually, just like oh yeah, I'm off doing this, and you're like oh yeah right, I forgot they do a thing I know.
Not to go off on too far of a tangent. This is connected to the Laura Bailey, so we'll steer back, I promise. But one of my favorite clips from the Critical Role is when Laura Bailey ducks out of the video game awards to come play Dungeons and Dragons with her friends,
Yeah,
and and
that
they're
was a
like
good one.
and they're like, have you been up yet? She's like, no, I just snuck off to the bathroom and just kind of left. The streets were empty. Can you imagine why?
I mean, I
Like
mean,
so funny.
I have a lot of favorites. I mean, but my recent favorites is the one where he's got the fly swatter and he touches it, and like she's just got this look on her face, and everyone else is like, "You married him."
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, right. I love that one. Sorry,
anyway,
that's a divergence.
back. So Jordan, and that's it for the news. I've got two more stories, and Jordan, we're milking those cows, and that's all we're doing. Jordan, it's a Donald Trump. He's milking the cows. He's milking those
Yes.
cows, and that's all
That's
he's
what he's
doing.
milking.
And that's all he's doing. He's milking the cows.
Yes.
Jordan, he's representing Middle America by milking those cows. Jordan
Oh, he absolutely is
milking
those cows. I don't do
Um,
a good Trump impersonation.
Let's, you know what? No, this will be kind of part because we don't really have a section for reviews. We've never really, but I love doing reviews. We began our career on the internet doing reviews, so we will never stop doing them. So we got 2 this week: the Doctor Who Christmas special, and What If. And I've got an article here from where I pull my articles, and it's a review for What If, and I kept it because I thought the title of the review was funny, which is What If Season 3 Review: What If a Marvel Series Was Bad? And okay. I don't think this. Okay, having not finished it because I ran out of times, so I'm only on episode. I'm just on the cowboy one.
I've seen it all.
Yeah, you've seen it all, but I'm not. I don't know how many I have left. I'm on the cowboy one. How many are after the cowboy one?
Cowboy one? I think there's 4 more.
There's 4 more. Okay, yeah, so I'm almost at the end. But okay, it's not very okay. Overall, I think it's of comparative quality to the previous seasons. It has all the same problems in the sense that none of the episodes are long enough. They don't. I think 1 or 2 episodes this season they do mine a couple of interesting ideas, and it doesn't. Thus far, none of the episodes this season were what if we just did the movie again. None of them have been.
Well, I think but it's not really What If the movie, but the closest example would be the Red Guardian one.
But even then, that becomes its own story. Yeah.
I was also going to say that's more What If the movie, but from Winter Soldier's perspective.
I guess, but even then, the story's not really just what if we did the movie again, but a different character. It's a new story with new characters.
That's what I said. That's the closest I can think of.
I'm assuming the last 3 episodes are all cliffhangers, and they do that thing where it's one big arcing story. I do roughly know how it ends. I've seen clips.
The last 2 episodes are at the end of the third to last one. It sets up the last 2 basically.
Yeah, and so. My big thing with this show is clearly animation takes a while, and they thought that the Eternals, Shang-Chi, Black Widow, and one more. I think there was one more. But they clearly thought a bunch of stuff was going to do much better than it was. Like, the later episode really projects the idea that they thought that Shang-Chi 2 would be out by now.
I mean, I certainly think... they definitely thought that the Eternals was going to be more popular because, one of the episodes is literally just what if the divergence happened.
Right, yeah. And that episode's not bad. Okay,
it's interesting to see Quentin Beck come back.
Right, and Mysterio is pretty cool. I always love when they're like, he's like the Scarecrow in the sense that if you do him right, he's frightening.
But that episode is also a bad example of they clearly thought Ironheart was going to be out because I didn't know who the hell she was supposed to be until I saw her don the armor, and I was like, okay, I guess she's Ironheart.
Yeah. The show literally has to go Riri Williams, so you know who Riri. That happens a lot in the show.
They said her name, and I had no idea who Riri Williams was.
I mean, she was in. I guess we only saw it the one time, but she was in Black Panther 2.
I've seen that once, and that was like several years ago.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That happened a lot. That was the same, but there's one of the episodes like, no, I'm trying to, I'm stalling because I'm trying to remember who they were. But they were, I think it was a couple of just Shang-Chi characters. Like the show definitely made me want to rewatch Shang-Chi. Whereas like there were Shang-Chi characters that showed up that I was like, yeah, I don't remember who these people are. And
like his sister.
Yeah. We're jumping around a bunch here. We're not going to talk about each of the individual episodes too much, except for one. And everyone, if you've seen it, you know the one. We're gonna get there.
My ultimate thing with
like the Eternals episode
season,
where they just start saying names of Eternals, and it was like I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah, my ultimate thing with the What If show, and I'm just season 3, season 2, season 1. I'm talking about the whole thing as a package deal. Is if I had to use one word, I would say disappointing.
Yeah,
If I
they
had if I had
never.
to use if I had to use 2 words, I would use wasted potential.
If I had to use 3 words, I'd say, what were they thinking?
I mean, it's just one of those things where you have a show where you have a blank check.
To do
It's a
whatever
blank
you
check.
want.
You can do whatever you want in the MCU. Like even if you can't use like other characters, you can do whatever you want in the world of the MCU. However strange you want to go, however weird you want to go. Why would they not have had multi-parters more than just the end of a season multi-parter, but
Yeah.
like multi-parters
I
or
will
like
say.
one thing that which you suggested, which I tend to agree with, and I think it would have made for a more interesting show, is if you had some of the episodes be in a different art style,
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
some of them be in 2D, have some of them be in 3D,
This
have some of them
season.
look more comic booky. Like it's just
This
wasted
season.
potential.
This season, I will say, is probably. See, it's so weird that everyone's like it's the worst season because it definitely is doing the most interesting stuff. Like the opener, which is what if the Avengers were Power Rangers, is honestly or Gundam. I think maybe it's more, but they
I
do
would say I would say with this season, it has a strong a fairly decent
very
opening
strong opener. Yeah,
in terms of the Power Ranger Godzilla stuff, and then it has a strong ending, and
I
everything in the
can't.
middle is just forgettable,
I mean,
just
or
forgettable drivel.
or memorable in a bad way.
Okay, yeah, for one of them.
But yeah, otherwise, yes, yeah, I didn't think the Emergence one was terribly memorable or interesting. I will
No,
say,
and who cares about? I mean, I understand they made an entire show about her, so clearly there's an audience for her. But I could care less about Agatha Hark. Agatha was it was Agatha all
yeah,
along.
well, that episode is bad because there's these really long dance sequences, which because the show is so cheaply animated, look like shit. None of the characters look fluid. Like the whole thing with Bollywood dancing is it looks fluid, and the animation is so stiff it looks awful. It doesn't look good, and the story there's not enough story for the episode. They were clearly really proud of that she becomes a celestial, and there's nothing else happens in that episode. Just not, and
Yeah,
it really assumes that the Eternals did better and that people like they're really lucky that Agatha did well and people like that show, but it's otherwise a nothing of an episode. Nothing really
it's so
happens in it.
forgettable,
Yeah, it's so
so
forgettable.
forgettable.
Okay, we
But
need to
no, like
Darn. We've been avoiding it.
that's where, hold on real quick. That's where I say, yeah, the ultimate disappointing thing about this show is because each episode is its own thing and they're only half an hour, there's no build up, there's no stakes either
No,
because
or it's got to
it's
resolve
it's
really quickly.
yeah, like if you wanted to have it be where each episode is a continuation, then you needed to have like a cast of characters that you focused on, and then that was the
Well,
point. So
it's
like the thing they set up in at the end of this season is what it should have been for the entire show.
again,
Uh,
I cannot speak to that. But what I will say is, like, either the thing is, the show wanted to have
do,
it both ways.
do you care if I spoil? If I
Uh,
tell?
no,
No?
no, best not, because you're gonna have to describe it. It's fine. I roughly know that, like,
I'm gonna go over a real quick version.
sure, quickly.
Basically you end up with it like the Captain Carter, Storm, daughter of the Duck, and one other character who's escaping me at the moment. They all end up essentially. You find out that they've been going from multiverse world to multiverse world solving problems. That's what
Oh,
the show should. That's what the show should have
it
been.
really should have
It
been that.
should have
Yeah.
it should have been following them as they go across the multiverse to the different multiverse worlds. And then, yes, each problem in each episode can be resolved in the episode, but the actual story is about them going to these universes.
Yeah.
That's what the show
Yeah.
should have
Well,
been.
okay. You know what it should
Oh,
have been?
the girl was the Aboriginal one, the one that was created for the
Right.
show. That's the other
Cool,
member of the
cool.
team.
Here's what I will say. Yeah, what you're describing is basically, and this is gonna seem like a totally, but it's basically the plot of Kamen Rider Decade, where he shows up in a Kamen Rider's world. There's a problem in that world. He solves it, and that's the plot of the episode. But it should have been either that or a true anthology, and every episode is different, and they don't
Yeah.
they don't attempt to connect in the final hour like each season does. And then the other episodes have nothing to do with it, so it doesn't work, and it just winds up with a clunky season of television.
Or if you're gonna have the connective thing of Uatu and have it be where there's a big thing, have that at the very end of the very last episode.
Right.
Like you have it at the very end, basically. You do it once.
I will say
you
though,
don't do it where he interferes at the end of each of these seasons. Like
right.
that at that point it makes it mean less when they have what happens in these last episodes happen.
Right. Although I did enjoy. Yeah, I'm at the point where he's just kind of like every time something bad happens, he's like, yeah, nope. And he's like, nope, not doing that.
Yeah, that does pay off to a degree.
But no, okay, we got to talk. Okay, we're gonna wrap this up by talking about. There's an episode of this show where Howard the Duck and Darcy do it.
I mean, they have a child.
They have a yes. They get married and they have a little egg baby, and everyone in the universe wants it, and it is the most upsetting thing this show. And it's probably the worst thing Marvel has ever done. It's weird because the 1980s movie when yeah, that's weird. That it would be weird if a lady and a duck did it, and then Marvel was like, but what if it wasn't though? But what if it wasn't?
So yeah. Marvel in 2024 or 2022 more likely when this was animated was like, this episode is, we're going to call it what if they had a child or whatever, but really it's going to be what if people were okay with furries.
Well, okay, here's the do they ever explain why she's a magic egg baby? They're just like Darcy and how is Howard the thing is I don't know a ton about Howard the Duck. I'm pretty sure he's not magic. He's just an alien duck. So why did they give birth to a magic egg baby?
I don't know enough about Howard the Duck. I seem to remember in some iterations he has weird, like how like the Mask has weird comic book powers.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know he can break the fourth wall and stuff. That's
like he has those kind of powers. So
okay.
Maybe this is supposed to be their interpretation of that. I don't know.
I do say all that to say this. Yes, if you're familiar, I understand how like it is immediately off-putting. I don't understand. It's like you're like, yeah, every time every comment section on a video about this is all just episode titles of better ideas that they could have done rather than Howard the Duck and Darcy get married and have a baby. Like, what if the other half of the universe got snapped, so on and so forth down the list.
I mean, for me, it's just it feels like every season they felt like they had to have like I don't know how to word this, but an episode. Well, I was gonna say an episode that is so out there. So for this season, it was the Howard the Duck one. For me, I believe it's the second season. The weird one for that one is Happy Hogan does a Die Hard.
Happy Hogan does a Die Hard, and then Party Thor, this is a sequel to Party Thor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say all that to say that it is a funny episode. Like I guess because I'm familiar with Howard the Duck and I understand that Howard the Duck comics are absurd like this. That's their whole deal. Like so it's meant to be funny, and there's a lot of funny. Like Malachi comes back for some absurd reason. I mean, Frost Giant Loki is
always going to be. My favorite part is always going to be when every time Nick Fury shows up and he's like
Fury out, or I love Howard the Duck. He's like and the recovering gambling addict. He's like and the gambling addict, recovering gambling addict. I have my chip and it's the wrong chip. That was funny, yeah,
it's just a weird concept.
Frost Giant Loki is hilarious. Him selling his like condos is so funny, and then the fact that they're like, yeah, we're gonna give you this free time as a way to make it up to you, and how like so Sophie the Frost Giant King is just he's okay with it. Like he's trying to pitch it to the dad. Like that's funny. I cannot dismiss that. That's funny.
Yeah, definitely. It's not without humor, that's for sure. It's just a weird concept.
It's just a weird concept.
Like if they had made it where like they found a baby, yeah, and they were like, oh, let's adopt the baby. Then I think it would have. I think it would have landed a little bit better.
I also think
it's just when you say when you say that like they lay an egg, it conjures a certain image in your head that I didn't
She
need.
says at the beginning, she's like, I spent 9 hours like it's implied that she went through labor and she squeezed out the egg. It's very weird, and like
That's why I say if they had adopted the child, like found
okay,
like baby
sure.
Thanos, a baby Thanos
Or
situation or
like
something.
I think also like the fact that there's 9 episodes and one of them is this. Maybe if these seasons were 15 episodes and like one of them was kind of weird and funny, people would be more forgiving of it. But yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. As a but yeah, there's a lot of real like I say that but some of them suffer from the fact that once again they're just too short. But
Uh,
I maintain, yeah, this season is of relative quality to the other two seasons. Like there's
one
not
of
I
the
don't think it's any worse.
one no, I don't think it's any worse. I just think that it has less interesting ideas.
Yeah,
Um, but one of the nice touches for one of the later episodes after so you know how the Watcher typically goes, who watches the Watcher.
yeah,
Um, in the later episodes, there's the group of guys who watch the Watcher,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
they go after the Watcher, and so I appreciate that. I believe it's in the second to last episode. You know how the opening is usually the Watcher does the whole space time
Yeah.
over the wide multiverse, blah 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 blah. Well, in this, I believe it's the second to last episode. It's a different one of them
Oh, neat.
that's doing the opening.
That's neat. I like touches like that. That's a neat. But
because
overall,
because they have him under
yeah.
their thumb, right? So
Um,
yes, it's a nice touch.
yeah. Overall, all right. Next, Doctor Who Christmas special. Um,
Doctor
in order to talk about the
Who.
Doctor Who Christmas special, we have to talk. We have to spoil the Doctor Who Christmas special. So if you have not watched the Doctor Who Christmas special, put us on mute and then watch this later, or earmuffs, or come back in like 10 to 15 minutes. Um, Probably less because I don't got a ton to say about it. Um, but yeah, there are some twists because it's a Stephen Moffat affair, so there are some twists to give away. Uh, Also, that in conjunction with that, we're going to talk about the trailer for season 2, which looks all right. It looks like Doctor Who.
I have not seen that.
Oh, fair enough. It looks all right. It looks like Doctor Who. They show you the new companion. You get to see that Ruby Sunday is back. This was an all right special. It meanders a bit in the middle. It meanders a lot in the middle. There's a whole bit.
Yeah, I watched it twice because the first time it was so forgettable for me that I wanted to refresh myself. It's okay. Boring is the word I would use. Slow.
Yeah, like I say, yeah, meandering and meandered. That the whole my whole thing is that it does that whole bit. I saw another review that said the same thing I said to you when we talked about this off air. That said you don't get enough with the main girl for that emotional payoff at the end to work.
No, it feels like she was supposed to be a different character.
Right, like she drops out midway through the story, so you spend a bunch of time with this concierge at this hotel that he spends the year at, and then that concierge doesn't really come back in the story in any significant or meaningful way, other than a weird bit at the end where she goes to work for the hotel. But other than that, she kind of seems to fall in love with the doctor, and she never comes back. It's very strange.
Um, and then there's the Joy where it's like I think she was supposed to be Ruby Sunday in the original, and it just blonde
I
hair, white girl who looks remarkably similar to Ruby Sunday,
I
but just a few 100 pounds heavier.
I mean, ooh, a few 100 pounds. Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'm being harsh, but you know what I'm saying.
I don't know. Maybe. Oh, I
Because
don't
because
know.
that because that big emotional payoff of like, oh, I'm a star and I'm looking down on you, only kind of makes sense if he spent like an entire season with her. That feels like a companion farewell.
No, not necessarily. I mean, yes and no. I mean, they this special really reminds me of we talked about it, but the one with Kylie Minogue, the Titanic one. It really reminds me of that. That one did the same thing, where she got a big emotional send off, and she's only in the one episode. So there is precedent for that. I don't know because I don't imagine he was ever looking to kill off Ruby Sunday. But I do see what you mean. They do share similarities up until the dying. Also, like yeah, the mechanic. I mean, it's one of those, do you want to be pedantic, but the amount of time that they took to fly off into space wouldn't be enough to get far enough away from Earth to not destroy Earth. But yeah, it has this big emotional payoff for a character that's not really in the episode enough for you to care about her.
Also, as an aside, um, I noticed this watching it this time. The moment near the end where there's two things made me laugh. One, which wasn't supposed to be funny, um, and the other, which I think was. But the moment where she's turned into the star, and it's her mother, and she's dying or whatever, and she like rips her soul away, and I'm like, oh man, so this is
No,
also
that's not supposed to be funny.
This is also. Well, I was laughing because I was like, oh, so this is also supposed to be a bootstrap paradox. She's miserable and ends up at the hotel because she, as a star, goes and rips her mother's soul out so that she'll be miserable to go to the hotel to meet
No,
the doctor.
that's not what happened. No, her mom died of COVID, and she took her spirit.
No, they never call it COVID.
It's COVID, Jordan. Are we allowed to
They
say
never-
that? We're gonna get blocked if we say that.
They never say it's COVID. It's just it could be an alien disease or some
Jordan,
other disease.
she's in the hospital in like March of 2020, and she has to say goodbye to her via iPad. It's the pandemic,
2020
man.
It's 2024.
No. When she goes back to the mom in the hospital room, it's 2020. The year's 2020.
Okay, I don't know.
No, I
I think
mean
it's
literally.
supposed to be
There's
one of. I think it's supposed to be one of those like it's implied to be that.
no.
But
I
they
mean,
don't.
there's literally.
They don't call it COVID. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, the illness, no, but the date on screen when they go back to her in the hospital room, it does say 2020.
Yes. I think you're supposed to. Literature says the disease that must not be named.
Right? You're not allowed to say it. Your videos get blocked if you say it.
We're not allowed to talk about that.
You're certainly not allowed to question it. That's for sure.
Um,
But yeah, that scene's not supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be an emotional moment.
but it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. She ripped her mother's soul away so that she could be miserable, so she could go have her adventure with the doctor.
It's weird that because when because she explodes in the the fact that she exists at all points in time, I don't know. It was kind of a weird payoff. I thought it was an alright Christmas special. It's not the worst Christmas special. It's not the best Christmas special. I also really like Chudigatwa as the doctor, and he's doing a lot of heavy lifting for me in terms of like my disdain for some of the writing choices.
I enjoy him. He's still not my favorite doctor. That's always going to be David Tennant.
It's always going to be David Tennant.
But he's a shining star in this one, is what I'll say.
Yeah.
In what is otherwise a very paint by numbers episode.
Yeah, it's an okay episode. That's my thing. I liked last year's Christmas special better. Is how I'll put it. Last year's Christmas special was better, just objectively
I would
better.
agree.
That was a really good first outing for that character. But I was like, you know what? We began this show doing Doctor Who reviews, so like, fuck it. Ooh, that's not advertiser friendly. I don't have much else to say. It's all right. I'm excited. I mean, I will always watch Doctor Who. Like it doesn't. I even bad Doctor Who. I will always watch Doctor Who.
As long as it's available,
right? Like Doctor Who, the only requirement for me is that it has to be available. I will watch it. As long as it keeps going to Disney Plus. I'll watch it on Disney Plus.
I mean, that being said, if it ends up being boring like the last Doctor was, what's her name, Jodie Whittaker.
I'll wait.
I'll wait. Yeah, I'll wait until it's all out and I'll watch it at once. But
that one has some.
I'll still end up watching it.
I don't mind. There's some there wasn't great stuff in the Jodie Whittaker, but there's some good stuff. Like one of my favorite episodes is the one where it's they go to some planet and it's the guys who get pregnant instead of the women. And there's a guy who.
Yeah, I think I remember that one.
That one was really good. That really good guest star he was really insecure about the fact he wasn't ready to be a father. That was really quite good.
I just found that she was trying too hard to be a Matt Smith / David Tennant, and it just held her back.
I really like her last season, the one I forget what it was called, but it was the one that everyone hates, where it ended out with the thing wiping out half the universe. But for me, the bad guys were dumb looking like aliens and like stupid looking costumes. And like to me, Doctor Who is one of those shows where it's at its peak when it looks like it's like like when you have the Daleks looking like modern cinematography, looking like 1960s creations, or like the
Yeah, there's a
Cybermen.
certain charm.
Yeah,
There's a certain
I
charm.
like that stuff. So I enjoyed that season, but I recognize it has its flaws. That's it. I think that's it. That's time to move on into that sponsorship, ye old sponsorship section.
Time for a sponsor.
And hey, this week's episode is sponsored and brought to you by. I don't have any of the graphics, but the Artie Awards. You guys, if you utilizing the link in the description, vote. You could get us another one of these guys. The Artie Awards. This is our Artie Award from last year. We are a one-time Artie Award-winning podcast. If you vote right now using the link in the description, you could get us potentially a belt. Especially if you vote for us for Podcast of the Year. I'm not allowed to say that you specifically should.
But I am
as a member of the illustrious.
So you should go down ballot and pick all of the spur of the moment ones. And if there's not a spur of the moment one, and you see that guy's face, vote for that one.
Yeah, or the
because
or
the that's where I said
yeah.
if it has your face in it.
Or for best guest, we're not nominated in best guest because. We love our guests, but other people got famous people. We have never gotten a famous person. Hey, if you know any famous people, that's like, hey, this is a New Year's special. Let's talk New Year's resolutions. One of mine is to have a famous person on next year, or a quasi internet famous person, or to become quasi internet famous. It would be nice to become quasi internet famous next year.
Got to keep those goals lofty.
But yeah, we're not nominated in Best Guest. Our dear friend Haley, part of your Broadway World podcast, who, if you've been watching along, she's been active in our comments today. She is nominated for Best Guest, and
she has my nomination.
I definitely may have voted for her.
She has my nomination.
I'm not allowed to officially confirm that, but Jordan did. Jordan voted for her.
I voted for her.
Jordan voted for her. It's his favorite musical.
Because I love that musical.
It's a good musical.
I listen to it a lot.
But yes, you can, if you haven't already, you have until New Year's Eve on Wednesday to vote for us. So vote for us or vote for whoever you like. Check out some of the other. You get to see all the best podcasts on the network. A lot of it I'm in. Oh, and funniest episode. A lot of it I'm in. Not to toot my own horn, I'm pretty fucking fantastic. I'm in a lot of it. One of my personal favorites is not even my show. That's how I know I'm the correct person to judge this. Because my favorite episode the funniest episode I don't even think is our episode as much as I think our episode's funny. It's
you fucking heathen.
It's an episode of Toon Talk 2.0 podcast, Toon Talk 2.0, called it was Trials. We put characters on trials. We put the George Clooney Batman, we put Darth Vader, and we put Goku, whether or not Goku was a bad dad. And dear friend Jake of the many podcasts on the network, he did a in my opinion very funny Obi-Wan Kenobi impression, and a very, very funny I don't know, he essentially did girl voice. If you watch girl voice, and it was very funny. As a guy who loves improv, this show is all improv. Every bit is improvised. We don't write anything down. We don't take notes.
No, that's way too much work. I watch like 10 movies. I don't have time to take notes for all those movies.
I'm not taking notes. That's what the Star Trek podcast is for.
Not that we're shaming anyone that does take notes.
No, not that we're shaming anyone who does. I take notes on the Star Trek podcast. But yeah, anyone is welcome to take notes. I do notes on the Star Trek podcast, but I don't do notes here. I don't have the time.
There's too much chaos here.
Too much chaos here.
Too much unbridled, unrestrained, mildly restrained chaos.
But that episode is just all improv, and it's very funny. It's totally worth checking out. I think it is my funniest outing on the network. With much love to all of the stuff we do here. I also think this is a very funny show.
I mean that's fair, Justin. That's fair. But as the representative of this show, I have to, in the kindest way possible, say, "Fuck that! Vote for us."
That is completely fair. I understand, but you can click the link. That's it. That's the sponsorship section of the show. Maybe next week, someone who will actually pay us. Who knows? Anyway, vote for us. We want that belt.
I want that belt.
I want that belt. It'll look great on my wall, and I just
You know
like to
what?
win.
Side selling here is the belt is coming from TrophySmack.com, which I don't think we have a link in the
No,
description
this
today.
episode's not
But
sponsored by TrophySmack.com, but you can go to one of our previous episodes and utilize the links in one of those episodes. TrophySmack.com, they created this. Oh, I guess this. Maybe I will throw in a TrophySmack link into this later on, but I mean, you just gotta listen to that. I know lingerie and literature can appreciate a good ASMR. TrophySmack.com. They have been a very faithful sponsor of the show. We could have, Jordan. You know what? I'm gonna do this. We theoretically could be sponsored by CapCut, but they don't like it when you curse, and we like to curse.
I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities coming down the line. Who knows what the future may hold?
Yeah, it's a future. But if you we'll talk about how you can sponsor the show. But if you know someone who would like to sponsor the show, you can contact me through my business email. It's justinsbusiness@gmail.com.
Literature says unhinged ADHD content is some of the best stuff I live for, and then said in response to your ASMR, said it's giving me tingles. Lol.
Wait, yeah, it's really look at the sheen, look at the quality, and listen to the tippy taps. Anyway, that's it. Let's move on to the main topic of the episode, which
Unhinged.
oh my god, Jordan, this is a post. This is why we don't do the show after a double shift, because it becomes lunacy.
Only mildly.
Only mild lunacy. I promise you, it's not normally this off the rails.
Yeah, it's normally only 70% off the rails. This is like 80 or
This is
90.
a full 90. This is a full tilt. This episode's brought to you by a second monster.
This is Justin did two shifts and then had two monsters, and
Okay.
he's going a little crazy.
So I don't know if you folks know, but this Tuesday is New Year's Eve, and that brings the end to the 2024 season. And we, like workaholics, we do the show through the holidays. We don't take a break until March. So we're doing a New Year's special, and the New Year's theme is stuff we missed, because we don't watch everything, because a lot of the show is stuff from the past. So we don't watch a lot of stuff, and also movies be expensive, and it takes a lot to go to a movie, spend money, go to the theaters, so we don't make it to everything. Sometimes behind the scenes thing, you gotta you gotta spend a free ticket on an SEO related movie. You know, sometimes you'd be watching Terrifier for the SEO. You know, sometimes you'd be watching Alien Romulus because that's the week it comes out and everyone's talking about Alien Romulus. You know, sometimes you'd be doing that, so you don't get to see everything. And then sometimes you're like, I really don't want to spend money on Venom 3. So we have gone down the list, and we're gonna talk about some stuff that we didn't see. All of my stuff is stuff that I didn't see. My have seens. So I guess we never go over what exactly the show is. So the second half of the show, first half of the show, news. Second half of the show, we break this down into 3 categories. We do the rapid fires, which is all the stuff we watched. That typically it tends to be stuff we've seen. This week, we're trying to transition more into doing more stuff we haven't seen, because it's way more fun to recommend stuff than that you haven't seen. For Jordan, anyway, it's way more fun to hear about stuff he hasn't seen, and it's way more fun for me to tell him about stuff he hasn't seen. But sometimes it's stuff we have seen, and then we have the have seens and the have not seens. And the have seens are the ones where that's the more in-depth part. That's where we get into the really nitty-gritty. That's where you get into like the behind-the-scenes stuff. Or that is for, in this case, mine is stuff that Jordan watched. So these are movies that Jordan has definitely seen that came out in 2024.
Yeah, mine, for the most part, are things that I haven't seen. There's one or two things in here which I did,
Yeah.
and not all of them were theatrical movies. So,
Mine, I think all went to theaters, but these are all the ones that because the title of the episode is stuff we missed. This is all the stuff we missed. This is all the stuff we didn't get a chance to see or we didn't get out to theaters to see, and we didn't have time to see if it came to streaming.
uh, actually, technically, the title of the video, Justin, is things we might have
Oh,
missed.
might have missed. That is true. We didn't miss a couple of the things that Jordan has. All my stuff is stuff I missed. Let's begin, Jordan. You go first.
So the first thing we're gonna jump into is we've talked about this before, but I wanted to rewatch it because I enjoyed the movie. Is Deadpool and Wolverine.
That movie's
Um,
fun.
it is a perfect example of it knows you want it to wear the hat. It knows you want the money shot. It gives you the money shot, and I'm pretty fucking
Oh
fantastically
yeah,
pleased
yeah.
with the money shot.
It's a movie that it understands that you want them to put on the hat and do the thing, and gosh darn it, they're gonna put on the hat and do the thing.
Oh yeah, it like, and not just that, but it really does feel like, especially when you watch the end credits and you see all the like they've got the behind the scenes footage from the various different Fox movies. It really feels like a love letter farewell to the Fox universe.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like there's characters that come back that well, I mean you've got Elektra, you've got fucking when they had Chris Evans land down, and everybody thinks he's going to be Captain America. And I remember it being like it catching me off guard when he's like,
Yeah, that
and
did catch me off
it's like
guard.
he's actually Johnny Storm, and I'm like, what? Oh my god, I did not see that coming.
I mean, there was cameos in there. That was a genuine delight to go into that movie and see cameos I wasn't expecting. Like
Right?
Channing Tatum and Elektra and what's his face, Blade.
Blade.
And do some of those action sequences not look super great? Yeah, some of them don't look super great, but some of them look really great. Like, yeah, Channing Tatum as Gambit. I really do hope that he does get that finally get that Gambit movie off the back of this. I genuinely do.
I love the fact that they keep in the movie. They keep poking fun at it, where they're like, yeah, we're people that were heroes that used to be, and then he's like, or that never got the chance to.
So Phil, I never got the chance to. I'm about to remember my name for myself. Yeah, no, that movie's very fun.
And he does a very good job being Gambit, and I would enjoy watch. I don't know a full movie of an unintelligible, I can't understand what he's saying character, but him as Gambit would be
It
fun.
would be very fun. Also, all the clips of him at Disneyland are just a delight. They're just an
Oh,
absolute delight.
so funny,
Just
so funny.
I can't believe they're still doing. It just kind of starting to feel like, oh, I think these things are. That show is so popular. I think it's gonna become a permanent part of Disneyland.
I certainly think it'll be there for a while.
Well, yeah, I think it started off because like a lot of times, yeah, like the Marvel characters, like they get to be a walk around character for like a day. And just enough to promote the thing, and then they don't really come back. So like I suspect that's what that started off as, and those shows were just so popular that they stuck around. And I always find that incredible because kids can't watch that movie. I've seen so many internet posts about parents being like, "I took my kid to that movie, and I shouldn't have."
Like especially the movie version. The comic book version, it really depends on what version of him you get. But the movie version, no, that is absolutely, you shouldn't be, no, not for kids, in my opinion.
I absolutely want him.
But he's the reason why he works so well in Disneyland is because he's such a zany, high energy, off the cuff kind of, like he is essentially a living cartoon character.
I want like the Disneyland version of that character who's restricted to just doing innuendos. That's the version I want of him. Like I want him. It's funny how everyone's like, "Oh, this character needs to be R-rated." I'm like, no, man. I want to see him restricted. I want to see him do innuendos and like dirty jokes that are restrained, but they're still super dirty. It's great that Ryan Reynolds understands that.
Yeah, like that's where I say whenever I see the Disneyland ones, I'm like, if there was ever a Marvel Spider-Man crossover movie, that's the version of him I want in that movie.
And I love I love that Ryan Reynolds, he understands that, and he agrees with us that Deadpool needs to be a secondary character going forward. And I'm like, yes, someone who gets it.
he's like, he's had his 3 movies. He's
Yeah.
had his arc. There's not
And
really anything else you can do for him other than have him be a side
and it's
character.
like perfect. That's easy. That's exactly right. Jordan,
He's not greedy, is I guess the
I don't want
point.
to go too long in Deadpool and Wolverine because you could check out both of our videos on Deadpool and Wolverine and see our thoughts on that when we saw it when that movie came out.
Yeah, that's my rapid fire feelings. Still
Um,
good. Still recommend. Much
okay,
approved.
so I don't really have a theme going on here this week. It's just ones I went along a list and I went through ones that I thought were interesting or I'd heard a lot about or I'd heard people talk about. And the first one was a movie called The Substance. Now,
Was it a movie that had real substance?
kind of. It definitely has a message to say. It definitely has something to say. Okay, The Substance, Jordan. Okay. Jordan, The Substance is, and you're gonna get this reference, is a lot like the movie The Fly.
Oh, so it's horrifyingly upsetting and disgusting.
Yes. Okay. So, a lot of people said this movie's good. Like it's really good and it's really funny. But it's also disgusting. Just really disgusting. And you know me, Jordan, I have a tolerance level for disgusting. I'm okay with disgusting. And I'm like, all right, how disgusting could this possibly be? And whenever you ask yourself the question, how disgusting can this possibly be? It is either way more disgusting than you can possibly imagine or really not that disgusting. Ugh. This might be one of the most disgusting movies I've ever seen in my life.
Okay. Okay. So what is this movie about?
Okay. First of all, have you heard of this movie?
I don't think so.
No, okay. So it stars, I believe, Demi Moore, I believe is who it stars. And she's a kind of an aging star, basically. An aging star. She has an not an acrobatic, aerobic show that she's done for many, many years that she's about to be fired from because she's gotten too old. And she picks up this substance, basically, that she injects in herself that will create a second, better version of her. Younger, hotter, fitter, whatever. And so
Okay.
she gets given this substance by a doctor that she sees later in the movie. And the sequence of this other her being created is essentially like this other her bursts out of her back like she's like a cocoon. Like just like and it's it goes on for
So
forever and it's really gross.
so like when you put water on Mowgli from Gremlins and Gremlins start popping out his back.
Kind of, yeah. Basically, kind of looks similar. Well, more like, yeah, more like a birth, like a womb, but yeah, kind of similar, like similar kind of concept. And so then they become the company that creates this substance focuses on the you're united, you're one. So you may be two people, but you're one being. So part of the deal is every 7 days they have to swap. And they have for the other her named, I can't remember the name. I'm gonna call her Jessica, but that's not the right name. So Jessica has to remove fluid from the original person every few hours in order to remain stable. Otherwise, she starts to like disintegrate and fall apart. And she is
Okay.
super hot. That's the whole thing. She's super hot, super pretty, and every 7 days they have to swap back. So the original version lives a life, and so the hot girl.
This sounds incredibly convoluted as a system for like in this world.
Yeah, it's really kind of yeah. It's not. It's Well, I guess
Like we're gonna create a second version of you that's super hot, but like she can only exist for 7 days, and then your ugly ass has to go back out and live life
yeah,
for a
that's
while.
that's
It
sort
just
of part of it. Is like yeah, she becomes depressed because the other girl's so hot. She's been giving all the attention. She gets given the original version of hers own original show, and she's getting all the attention. And so it gets to a point where every time they swap, the original version like fuck it, I'll just do whatever. So she binge eats. She treats her body like shit. And it's giving the other version of her like horrid nightmares and like really vile, awful, violent, disgusting nightmares. And it sort of gets to a point where she starts to they start to sort of resent each other, and they start to think of themselves as like separate people, which kind of violates the system. And if she stays active for too long, like if she goes past the 7 days, she starts to cause damage to the original body. So she goes like a couple hours late, and her finger turns to like an old person's finger, and so she goes back again, treats her body like shit. They swap back eventually, and the creation, the girl Jessica, starts to stay in control longer and longer and longer, and just keeps taking fluid from the original till she basically tries to draw fluid, and there's no more fluid. She can't get any more stabilizer fluid out of her, and her contact at the company or whatever is like, oh, in order to get more fluid, to regenerate the fluid, you have to swap. And so she swaps, and the original girl is now this horrid, like ancient, like hunchback, horrifying looking old woman, because she's been like taking stabilizer fluid, and she refuses to like swap back, and the company's like, well, you can stop, you can sever the connection, destroy the thing, and remain as you are. You can't go back, like you can't fix it, you will be like this forever, but you can choose to not to swap. And so she freaks out and goes to inject this fluid in the creation, to destroy it. And she's about to do it, and she can't do it because they don't really explain it, but they I guess they share a consciousness. So like they seem to be kind of loosely aware of each other. But she goes to kill the Jessica, and she changes her mind last minute because she's like, oh, you're the best part of me. You're still the only good part of me. And she somehow, they're both conscious at the same time, and Jessica freaks out and murders her, sort of being like, she's like, oh, you're the best part of me, and the irony being that she's not. She's actually awful and terrible. She's not actually the best part of her. And so she kills her, and like murders her bloody. And after she murders her, she starts to completely degrade. Without the original to get fluid from her, she starts to completely fall apart, and it turns into The Fly, basically, where like again, I can watch the Terrifier movies, and I can watch him tear people apart and more or less not flinch, but she pulls her teeth out, like she's pulling her teeth out.
I'm trying to wrap my head around it, because from your description, I don't get it. I don't get what the benefit to having a second person.
No, I don't either.
That's better than you in every way.
That can eventually develop its own consciousness and just usurp your life. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't see the appeal. I don't understand this. This seems unethical, and I don't. And also, like, they don't really tell her what the deal is, so she injects it, not really knowing what it does, and then all of a sudden, there's a person bursting out of her back. Like, I'm like, it sort of feels like you should maybe have been more clear about what this involved.
Literature says, I saw the preview for the movie and seemed like the most fascinating commentary on society and how it views beauty and youth.
It is. It is absolutely a commentary on like, there's Dennis Quaid plays a real awful, like, he's just a sort of a representation of an executive, and he's awful, and there's all sorts of these gross close-ups of him eating that are just disgusting. Like it does have commentary to say. I don't think it's funny. I don't see how it's a comedy, but apparently people find it funny.
This is supposed to be a comedy?
People describe
what you're describing sounds like a horror movie.
It's a body horror movie, but people described it as a comedy, a satire. I don't know how you do it. But
I just functionally don't understand.
So, well, okay, let me get to the end. So and this is the movie's version of remember Brundlefly? The awful Brundlefly. This is this movie's version of that. And so okay, so she kills she kills the original girl. So her body's falling apart. So yeah, she's like pulling out teeth, and like her skin's peeling off, and it's bloody and awful and disgusting, and unpleasant.
Sounds unpleasant.
And so she decides.
It sounds very not YouTube friendly.
So she decides that in order to basically save herself, she needs to create a copy of herself. So she injects herself with the substance, and a horrible mutant creature this is where the movie kind of stops making sense. Instead of it being a better version of herself, a horrible mutant creature bursts out of the back of her, who has the original girl's face on her like back, and is this horrible, disgusting, deformed mutant creature. Oh, and the whole thing is the morning like aerobic show she does has become really popular. So she's being given what they call the New Year's show that she's been prepping for, and this is the reason why she hasn't been swapping back to the other girl. And so yeah, so this horrible mutant creature goes to like host this show in the hot girl's stead, and like has the hot girl's face like on like a magazine cover like on her face to disguise herself. And I guess it's supposed to be a commentary on like plastic surgery, I guess. I don't know. But she shows up, and then everyone eventually realizes she's this horrible mutant monster, and then just like explodes in a torrent of blood and guts that goes on forever, that even I went, this is disgusting. Like, it was unpleasant. It was an unpleasant movie.
So literature says, I wonder if the darker violent parts allude to what people are willing to do, i.e. surgery, body modification, etc., to achieve the perfect beauty and youthful appearance.
I suppose. Maybe.
And then she follows up with, but that's me injecting interpretation into it.
It's definitely one of those movies. It definitely is. It's just it's a hard. I'm at that stage in my movie loving career where I can enjoy stuff like that. It's just really disgusting. Like really disgusting.
One could also interpret the monstrous clone coming from the clone thing being like, as each person tries to replicate the original, you get further and further and more monstrous because you're just trying to be someone else. Like, there's a lot of ways you could choose to interpret a horrifying scene like that.
The best thing I can, if you're like, because like it's disgusting in a different way than the Terrifier movies are. The best way I can describe it is to be like, if you ever see, like, everyone keeps comparing it to David Cronenberg, and absolutely, if you've seen The Fly, it's more disgusting than The Fly.
That's
in a bad way. In a bad way. And it makes it hard for me to recommend. I didn't enjoy it. I desperately wanted it to end. But it definitely has something to say. That's it. That's the substance. Disgusting. Moving on.
Okay, so if my next movie is called okay, so I have a question. I have a fun thing that I want to do here. But so my next movie is called A 90s Christmas. Now, when I say a 90s Christmas, what year would you think?
Well, okay. So based on the entire premise of the question, my title alone, I would say 1990. However, the framing of the question makes me think that it must take place in the 2000s, and it's a tribute to the 90s.
Okay, so the premise of the movie is basically
does not take place in the 90s.
It does take place in the 90s, but it takes place in a year where I'm like, you might as well have done the thousands.
So 1999.
It's closer to the end of the 90s than it is like the middle or beginning.
It's like
and so at that point, like, it's not. Why would you call it? It's not really a 90s Christmas. I mean, it makes me think of that meme where you see the guy who's like, I guess. Yeah. Like, that's what that evokes. Where it's like, I guess it's technically a 90s Christmas.
I mean, in a pedantic sense, sure, I guess, but okay.
I guess technically,
it's like when
it's
people who were born in 1999, like, I'm a 90s kid. I mean, are you?
Oh, I guess. Technically, you are.
Yeah. Okay.
But so basically, premise of this movie, it's a Hallmark movie, which was on Netflix. And premise of this movie is basically workaholic lawyer is transported back to 1999 via a mysterious rideshare experience. So basically, she takes an Uber, and the Uber takes her back to the 90s.
All right.
And everyone that sees her as her younger self, but like we, the camera, see her as her adult self.
Gotcha. Oh, so it's a hot tub time machine situation.
Yeah, basically.
Gotcha.
Where like she keeps mentioning things to people in the past, and then it's changing things in the future, and like she has her promotion paper, and it's Back to the Futuring where things are disappearing from it.
Gotcha.
I don't, it's your classic Christmas Hallmark movie where over the course of the movie she realizes that things in her
Wait,
future aren't quite how she wanted, and
wait, Jordan, are you doing a Christmas movie on our New Year's special?
it was one that came out in 2024 that I didn't watch.
Shame.
Also,
Shame.
yeah, fuck it.
That
Why
was
not?
last week. Last week was the Christmas special.
Yeah, and I missed this one. I didn't see this, or I might have picked it.
How dare you?
Anyways, over the course of the movie, she learns along the way that her life in the future isn't quite how she wants it, and since she's in the past, she changes time, and then she ends up with a person that she loved in the past, and her life is better. And rah rah hee ha.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
All right.
That's really all I have to say about that one. It's cute. It's fine. It's
All right.
okay.
That's it.
See, that's how you do a rap. For those who are new here, that's how you do a rapid fire, Justin.
I mean, yes, but Jordan, your life is a little more fulfilled because I described the substance to you.
Is it?
It is.
Is it?
Jordan, you might have watched that movie.
Is it?
No, you gotta do that. Is it?
Is it?
See, that joke doesn't work for our audio listeners.
Yeah. The audio listeners just keep hearing me say, "Is it?"
My next movie is a movie called Civil War. Alex Garland directs it, and it takes place in an alternate universe timeline where the forces of Texas. I can't even do it with a straight face. The forces of Texas and California have teamed up to overthrow the United States government, and the movie is about four journalists who are traveling across the country to attempt to interview the president. And yeah, that's what the movie's about. It's got Kirsten Dunst in it. Jordan, I suppose you're probably wondering. What are you wondering, Jordan? I know what you're wondering, but ask the question. I'm assuming you're wondering.
I was gonna say, in what world does Texas and California team up?
And I suppose you're wanting to know, does the movie ever answer that question?
I mean, I am curious. Does it?
It absolutely does not.
Of course, it doesn't.
No, and it's really confusing because the president is played by
one of the most liberal province
state.
It's
America.
State. My Canadian brain was struggling for the word. One of the most liberal states with one of the most not liberal states teaming up to overthrow the rest of the country. If anything, I mean, Republic or Texas would team up with
Arkansas,
like Arkansas,
right?
Or like
other
Kentucky.
Examples.
Kentucky is the one that I keep trying to think of.
And that's the thing is they never the individual. I didn't find the individual characters really all that interesting. Like all this stuff that was interesting is like the but the political stuff, like the reasoning, why this happened, motivations, the reasons for each side. The movie is confusing because the president is played by Nick Offerman, right? You know who Nick Offerman is, right? By name?
Isn't he? He's from House and Rec, right?
Parks and Rec. He's Ron Swanson.
Yeah.
He's the president, and he's coded as Donald Trump coded, so he's kind of got his hair like they show him doing this sort of victory speech where he's like, it's the greatest of all time. You know, he's using a lot of that kind of adjectives, like those kind of words. So he's very Donald Trump coded, and the Western forces, which in this case is the Confederacy, this movie is equivalent to the Confederacy. They seem to be white supremacists, like white supremacists, like Proud Boys, like coded. Like there's a scene where they get accosted by I think they're supposed. It's never really made clear whether or not they're Western people, but they kill these two journalists because they're Chinese. So it seems to be like that's just blanket racism. Okay, so it's those. So like they're the ones, but that doesn't really align with them being California and it's weird because some of the Western forces are wearing camo, so they look like they're soldiers, so it's unclear who the army is, and the movie's never exceptionally clear about like who's the bad guys. Like it seems to imply that like Nick Offerman's president is like a despot, and he's been like bombing. He's been like bombing American citizens and like attacking American citizens. So it sort of seems like
Ooh.
he's the bad guy, but
Feels a little on the nose.
right, and it feels like he's the meant to be the bad guy. So he's made like, oh, Donald Trump is the bad guy, but like the Western people are people who you would kind of sort of associate with a Donald Trump follower, sort of. So like, or certainly a bad example of one. So it's not really clear who is the antagonist. Like it's really confusing. And like I say, the individual characters who are trial are just not. It's not really like they don't go into the stuff that's actually interesting about what a civil war in America would entail.
Right. And there's just the fact of like why certain why certain people are teaming up when they would have no business
Right,
teaming up.
and also like, oh, okay, okay, I'm gonna spoil the end of this movie, just very briefly.
Oh, spoiler.
Spoilers, but the Confederacy wins essentially in the end. They kill the president and they take over the government. And it's not really indicated as to whether or not it's a, because the whole point of the movie is the one she's like a green photojournalist who's never really done this. She becomes slowly desensitized to all the violence as the movie goes on, and the movie just ends with the Western forces killing the president, and the guy just coldly like interviewing him, and it implies that like photojournalists and wartime journalists, like journalists who document wars, are just cold, heartless sociopaths who just don't care when people die. Like it's very bizarre.
I mean, are they not?
I mean, I don't know.
I've never met one, so I can't say that that's
I
not
can't
true.
say, but this movie certainly implies that they are. But yeah, it doesn't explore any of the stuff that would be interesting about this conflict, at least in my opinion. It was all right. It wasn't boring. It certainly wasn't boring. I will say that. But like, another one of those like, yeah, there's more of an interesting idea to do here. It doesn't fully explore its ideas. But that's it. That's Civil War.
So every now and then, one and or both of us picks a thing for content. Picks a thing that we know looks bad, that we know is going to be a painful experience. This is one of those times. I picked Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp, which is a sequel. It's a sequel to the 2017 Woody Woodpecker movie, which I have not seen.
That movie has like the kind of cheap. Well, from what I saw of it, has the kind of cheap CGI where the character doesn't remotely look like he exists in the world he's supposed to be in.
Yeah, that's one of the issues. That's one of the plenty of issues. So this movie starts where he gets kicked out of the forest by all the people there, like they vote him out or whatever. And I assume they're characters from the first one.
I think so, because I think the thing of the first one, the plot of the first one, from my basic recollection, is like he is essentially he's Yogi, functionally he's Yogi Bear and a nuisance, and it's them trying to get rid of him, and they become friends by the end.
Yeah, and then the second one, he's been enough of a nuisance that they're all like, yeah, you need to get the fuck out of here right now. Like, fuck off.
My thing just generally with Woody Woodpecker is I just remember him from that 90s show where his function in the story was always just for lack of a better comparison, he was the Bugs Bunny. He's the good guy. He's the one that people like. It's like, from what I mean, I heard you watching this movie, and it sounds like they try to make like Wally Walrus the good guy, and he's Elmer Fudd. That's his function in terms of the relationship. That's what he's supposed to be.
In this one, he's not necessarily the good guy, but like he's the I don't know how to word it. He is the at least one half. This movie's confused for one thing. It can't decide what it wants to do, because on the one hand, you have the vulture guy who he's there and he wants to get both camps shut down, um, or basically screw the one guy out of both camps, so that he can look for treasure that's reportedly buried somewhere on the property of one of the two camps. There's two camps, both run by their cousins of each other or something like that. And yeah, so there's that. So there's him being this nuisance of trying to shut things down and fuck around and stuff like that. But then there's also Woody Woodpecker, who's a nuisance, but he needs to get a badge from the camp proving that he can be a team player so he can go back to the forest and show the ranger there and be like, see, I'm a team player and I'm allowed to live here again. And so he keeps causing problems at the one camp, which ultimately leads to where the walrus guy shows up. And the walrus guy is, I guess, the inspector that inspects both of the camps. And he's ultimately like, yeah, you have like 1,000 things that need to be fixed here. Either pay up now, or I have to shut you down.
So to be clear,
So
Wally is still very much a walrus.
Yeah,
Is he a CGI character?
yeah,
Like Woody Woodpecker?
yeah.
And there's no...
Although I would argue he looks better than Woody, but that's my opinion.
And this walrus has a job where he is,
Yeah,
in fact...
I believe he's like he's dressed as a ranger, so I think he's supposed to be like one of the park rangers.
And okay. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. And he has a job as a ranger, and this is not weird or unusual in this universe.
Doesn't seem to be.
There's
Now, also
no reference to the fact that he's a walrus.
talking animals just seem to be a normal thing because yeah, the bad vulture guy who's a criminal who was in prison, he gets a job at the bad camp, as it were.
I'm pretty
He
sure
gets a job. He gets a job there as a cook.
I'm pretty sure
And
the vulture is also a character from that show.
Oh, I believe he is. Yeah. And um, it's bad is kind of the ultimate summation.
It looks like it was giving me straight to DVD
Also,
vibes.
I mean, that might be giving it too much credit. Um, the biggest distracting thing for me was the fact that immediately, right away, as soon as I heard Woody, I heard Daffy Duck, which he's played by the modern voice of
he's
Daffy
played by Eric
Duck.
Bauza.
So
I'm not going to shit on... to be fair, that voice was incredibly grating sounding, but I'm not going to
It
shit on
was.
Eric Bauza. I like Eric Bauza. He is a solid performer. I will not shit on him.
oh, I don't think it's the actor. I think the character is annoying.
Yeah, the voice.
Like,
Well, that's the thing.
the
He's trying to do a decent approximation of what Woody sounds like. My favorite version. Maybe after this, I'll share. It's one of those we used to watch it. You would recognize it if you saw it. I'll send you clips of it.
I remember the cartoon. I just don't remember specific details about it.
Yeah, his voice was never that grating. Like it's particularly grating in this movie.
Well, the problem with the voice in this movie is you can tell he's desperately trying not to do Bugs or Daffy.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to do this like this weird, because it's weird when I listen to it at certain points. If I close my eyes, I would hear Bugs, but mostly I hear Daffy.
I mean, to be
So
fair,
it's like this character is in between the two, and he's desperately trying not to fall into either.
I will say, as a person who remembers what Woody Woodpecker sounds like, he does sound like, but it's a really falsetto grating version of it, like a really grating version of it. Bad movie. Anything else, Jordan?
One day I'll have to go back and watch the 2017 first one just so I can say I did, but it hopefully won't be anytime soon.
That's that it, Jordan.
Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
That's it.
My next one is I picked it because I'd heard about this movie and I heard it was good. I picked it for one reason. It's a movie called Monkey Man, and I did it so I could tell this story about how when I was in high school I took Japanese, and my Japanese teacher was really amused by the character Saruman from Lord of the Rings, because in Japanese, monkey is Saru in Japanese means monkey. So Saruman means monkey man in Japanese, and he always thought that was funny. And so I was just like, Saruman, the Lord of the Rings character.
That's
But
funny.
this movie, it's directed, written, produced, and stars Dev Patel, who some people might know him from Slumdog Millionaire. The only thing Jordan knows him from is The Last Airbender as Zuko. Uh,
Oh.
and and here's what I will say: in The Last Airbender, is he's doing that kung fu and he's quite good. And so he really wanted to, because he felt like there wasn't really a good Indian action star or like a good Indian action movie. So he wanted to be the one to make it. And hot damn if he doesn't. I found a lot of this movie to be quite okay. The last 30 minutes of this movie is some of the greatest action sequences I have ever seen. Some of the fight choreography is amazing. It is badass. The rough plot of it is Dev Patel plays a guy who he gets a job. He's trying to attempt to get close to this police chief who ordered the execution of his village based on the whims of a megalomaniac religious despot who is trying to win an election.
As one does.
Yeah, he's
As one does.
trying to win an election, and he's out seeking revenge. He wants to kill the police chief and this religious despot, and it's essentially Indian John Wick, and it is so friggin' good. I will say it does get a tad slow at points. Like there's a lot of like really slow methodic shot, but let me tell you, hot damn if Dev Patel doesn't know how to shoot an action sequence. It looks amazing. Like there's a lot of really badass, like there's a scene where he's like fighting the guy with a knife and he's like trying to stab him with the knife and he's pushing it slowly towards him and he can't quite get it, so he just takes the knife in his mouth and slowly pushes it into the guy's face. Or like there's another point, he's just got so many good lines. Like there's a point later on where he's killing a guy and he's begging for his life and he turns to him and he's like, only God can judge you now. And it's just this cold line. It's like, oh, so good. Totally worth checking out. If you just love solid, good fight choreography, it's on Amazon Prime. If you're not a subtitled person, a lot of it's in Hindi, but it's really, really good. It's totally worth checking out.
Literature says he's obviously never seen Singham.
I'm not familiar. But yeah,
I've never seen that.
I am
one,
also
so.
unfamiliar. But yes, it is. Again, it's Indian John Wick. If you like John Wick and like action movies like that, just tight fight sequences, really good, really really good. That's Monkey Man.
So, the words are hard.
Okay, annoying orange.
So I watched the Netflix show, 8 episodes long, called Terminator Zero, which is anime Terminator.
Anime Terminator. Apparently, it's really good.
I quite enjoyed it. Singham is apparently a great Indian action comedy from 2011. They apparently did a sequel in 2024.
Oh,
Interesting.
interesting.
But no, yeah, Terminator Zero. So basically, Malcolm Lee is making Kokoro, which is an AI system which is intended to compete with Skynet because he
Gotcha.
knows that Judgment Day is coming. And so there's a lot of twists and turns. I don't want to spoil too much for anyone who might want to watch this because it genuinely was enjoyable.
I would like to watch it.
But what I can say is, it touches on the interesting idea of the people from the future are so unwilling to accept the possibility that there could be good machines.
Yeah.
And it kind of explores that a little bit. In some ways there's certain aspects of it. I'm trying to think of how to say this non-spoiler. There's certain aspects of it that remind me of Detroit Become Human.
Okay, that's interesting. That does interest me. Yeah, I don't want you to give this too much of this away because I actually do want to watch it. It's sort of like there's another one. The Lord of the Rings anime. It's just there's some anime things that I'm like, ooh, I think
That-
look, this is a stance we've taken on the show before. I think more things need to do anime version of. I look, hard stance. I think the supernatural anime is probably good. Maybe
I mean, one day we'll have to find an excuse to watch it.
I've heard it's not good.
But what I will say about this one, and this was I when I articulated it to you while I was watching it, it's refreshing to see a different take on a thing you know very well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and also I saw some of the promo for it. It looks pretty, especially for a Netflix anime.
And there's just also the fact that there's things in animation that things like the Terminators can do that you're just always gonna have a hard time representing
Oh
in
yeah,
live action media.
definitely.
And so, in my opinion, the Terminator that you see in this one, because spoiler, in the thing called Terminator, there's a Terminator.
There's absolutely a Terminator.
I think it's one of how do I word this? I think it's one of the most personality that we've seen in a Terminator.
Other than probably like the Connor Chronicles one, but yeah, yeah,
I didn't watch that, so I can't judge that.
fair, fair.
But overall, I enjoyed it. It's on Netflix. It's 8 episodes. You could probably knock it out in an evening. I did. And I think it's worth a check out. I think I want to see more things like this. Like, I'd love to see like a Predator movie in anime.
Yeah.
I'd love to see like an Alien movie in anime. Like, I'd love to see all of these old 80s things that we've seen 1,000 times in live action, and just do it in a different medium.
Hashtag make more things anime.
I'm just saying.
Hashtag make more things anime.
That's the spoiler-free Terminator Zero opinion piece.
So okay, my next few ones, these have all been kind of heavy. I'm just sort of realizing. So Jordan, we the next few are they're a lighthearted affair.
Yeah. Apparently that's your theme for the
that's
week.
my
Also,
theme.
my last rapid fire is Venom.
Okay, then you have no more rapid fires because Venom's that I have not seen for me.
Oh, okay. Then I have no more rapid fires.
Okay, I've got 3. Should I cut them or just plow forward?
How fast are they?
Reasonably.
Maybe do 2.
I mean, okay. They're all lighthearted and easy, so we'll do them quick. First one, Garfield the movie. Now here's a thing for new viewers of the show.
I almost watched that.
The thing you're gonna learn is that Justin has hot takes, and here is a classic.
What? Justin has hot takes. No, that's.
Here's a classic hot take. Here's a classic Justin hot take. I think that people give Chris Pratt too much shit because I thought Garfield the movie was fine. It's fine. It's all right.
Did people say that it was bad? Was that?
Well, people were like, Chris Pratt does too many of the voices. He does everything. Well, and he's a perfectly suitable Garfield voice.
Sure, that wasn't. I don't think the issue was so much that he was oversaturated in the market at the time. He did too many things too quickly, and people were irritated by that. I don't think it was so much a statement on his ability to do Garfield.
The movie's fine. It's fine. It's fine. No, everyone's like, oh, it just sounds like Chris Pratt, and I'm like, no, I mean, it sounds like Garfield. He's doing his best approximation of the one from the cartoon, like which is like the default voice Garfield has. Like, everyone does their own approximation of that original animated specials voice.
You're not wrong. Bill Murray did the same thing.
This movie has here's the one thing I will say about it. This movie has a weird respect for Odie. Every character thinks Garfield treats Odie with respect. Every character thinks Odie is a genius. But the one thing is, it's very strange that Odie doesn't talk. So every animal is anthropomorphic and talks.
But Odie never talks. Even in the original cartoons,
Odie doesn't talk. Okay, so the cats talk. Most of the characters are cats. They talk. And you're like, okay, so they're talking cats. Because there's a really funny gag later. Okay, the very short version of this is there's an evil... Garfield, it's an alternate story that you've never heard. There's a framing device by Garfield where it's him narrating. And if you've seen the trailers, it's Garfield's dad shows up and he's played by Samuel L. Jackson. And the bit is they're being forced to rob this place for this evil cat. And the whole thing is her scheme is she's gonna set up Garfield and the dad so they get sent to the pound, which is jail. And there's a really funny joke where the cat phones the milk factory to rat on Garfield and his dad, and she's like, "You need to be aware that someone's gonna try to steal all your milk." And then it cuts, and you just hear the other person on the phone hearing meow 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 meow. It's just a regular
That's
cat voice.
funny.
And yeah,
That's
it's
funny.
like that's funny. That's a funny joke.
Um,
And so yeah, it just kind of finally definitively answers the question of when Garfield talks to John, what does he hear? He hears cat.
that's very funny. So real quick, literature says, and she says, I don't have to read this aloud, but I can't be controlled, so I'm going to read it aloud anyway.
I'm gonna do
She
it
said,
anyway because I want
uh,
to.
because I want to. Um, Also going to recommend it. And sorry, the little heart is in the way. And Theron robot is in brackets. It's an Indian Tamil language film, sci-fi action. Corridor Crew actually did a reaction to it.
Oh, good to know. Good to know.
So maybe one day, Justin, here's an idea for the future. Then we can implement some of these foreign movie suggestions. Maybe one day we have to just do an episode which is just foreign films,
Yeah.
not specifically Japanese,
Yeah.
but just foreign
I
films.
mean, it's on my radar. It's definitely one I've thought about.
Then we could do Bollywood and stuff like that.
Yeah, there is a Bollywood movie. I've always wanted to finally actually watch the Bollywood Aladdin movie that I have the song of on my MP3 list.
Sing is King.
No. Sing, that is one I've always wanted to watch. No, it's called "You May Be" is the song.
Literature says we should do a Bollywood episode.
I've gotten for my friend. He gave me so many good recommendations of Indian movies that I do have to watch. We're talking about Garfield. Garfield, yeah. So
Does he hate Mondays?
he does hate Mondays. Yes, he does.
Does he? Does he love lasagna?
He does love lasagna. Yes.
Well,
Oh,
then he's doing a perfectly fine job as
that's the bit.
Garfield.
So the evil cat has two dog henchmen who are like they're Cockney British, but they talk. So Odie is the only dog who doesn't talk.
Right, but I remember in Garfield, there's always like even in the live action movie, with Bill Murray, there's the other dog which does talk.
Sure. Okay, yeah, but still, I mean, at least I
He's
don't
dumb,
know.
but he does talk. It's always in every iteration. It's always just Odie which
Yeah,
doesn't
but this
talk.
version is like he's smart, but he just doesn't talk. It's very weird and it's very confusing. It's just made confusing by the fact that there's two dog characters who talk. But it's
Well,
otherwise.
Justin, have you ever considered that maybe he doesn't want to talk? He's perfectly capable, and he just has nothing to say.
Also, there's all yeah. It's fine. It's an all right movie. Like it's an inoffensive animated movie. If you got kids, you want something like I think Chris Pratt's fine in it. He's a perfectly suitable Garfield. He is fine. Borderlands is my next one. This movie it's just the Guardians of the Galaxy knockoff. Every character is an equivalent, and the big thing, and it's the big thing everyone said about. Okay, I don't know a ton about Borderlands, but it's the kind of bad adaptation that makes you go, I'm not familiar with this, and even I can tell something's off.
Yeah, like Avatar.
Yeah, like Avatar. Like I think you saw the trailer, and even you were like, this doesn't feel right.
For Borderlands, you mean? Yeah. I there was just something off about it.
Yeah,
That I don't know Borderlands. Like I don't know it very well. Really, the only thing about Borderlands that I know is Claptrap.
And he seems fine. Jack Black seems fine. He's got some funny jokes. It's fine.
He seems fine, and I don't really care enough about the rest of it that it would probably bother me.
There was some. I don't think it's as bad as people said it was. I thought there were some fun action sequences that I had a little bit of fun. I will say that like Kate Blanchett and Kevin Hart are like just too old. Like they look like Kate Blanchett looks awful in a lot of the action sequences. Like a lot of them involve hand-to-hand combat that just looks bad. The girl who's playing Tiny Tina, I didn't mind her. Yeah, it just desperately. It really is just like Guardians of the Galaxy in the sense that there's bad needle drops, like
80s music.
oh yeah, 80s and 90s and 2000s music that's just bad. It's not really on anything, so it's yeah.
Now,
I
when you
just
say it's bad, do you mean the music is bad, or do you just mean that it's
it's
misplaced?
misplaced. It's like a Suicide
Okay.
Squad. Yeah, it's not. They're not good needle
Okay.
drops. It's not good use of the needle drop.
Got it.
Because like I'm gonna talk about a really good, really a movie with really good needle drops later. That I really like their need. I really like the needle drop. Wait, first of all, I always use that term, but you know what a needle drop is, right?
Needle drop is when like a music cue is
Yeah,
queued up.
yeah, exactly. When a musical interlude happens, yeah. Like there's a movie we're gonna talk about later, which you've seen, which I think has really good needle drops, like really good needle drops. Um, and then finally, the last movie I want to talk about is a movie called My Old Ass, and this one I selected because
Is it about a donkey?
it is not about a donkey. I selected this
Oh.
one because it's a funny story. Friend of the podcast, Virus Fox and Matt and Jake, their show Toon Talk. I was watching an episode of Toon Talk 2.0, and they were talking about they were doing a review of the Joker 2 doing a poo, and
He's doing a poo.
doing a poo. Joker 2 does a poo. Um, and they all of a sudden started talking about my old ass, and I thought they were like I thought they when they said my old ass I thought they were making a joke about how they were old, and I thought they were still talking about Batman. So they start talking about this girl who's a lesbian, and I'm like, wait, Harley Quinn's so anyway. Jake didn't like the movie. He said it was bad. So that anytime anyone says a movie is bad, it automatically prompts me to want to go watch it.
Of course, of course.
Naturally, right? And so, okay. So, this movie is a coming of age story about a girl whose parents are cranberry farmers and she lives in a small town. And on her 18th birthday, she does. I'm describing a movie, I can say it. Shrooms. And
She
sees.
she she takes a page out of Mario's book and does
It's,
and eats a
and
mushroom.
it's a mushroom. There we go. We did it. And she sees herself from the future. Herself from the future comes back, played by Aubrey Plaza, and she thinks she's just on a trip. And she wakes up the next morning to find that her as described, her old ass it has put her phone number into her phone, and her old ass gives her information about the future and tells her what to do. It gives her advice and tells her essentially how she should live her life. Advice usually amounts to spend more time with your family, slow down and appreciate what time you have left, so on and so forth. And also avoid a guy named Chad.
So, did she actually time travel, or was she just high as balls?
So okay, here's the thing. So for most of the movie, it sort of seems like it may be metaphorical or allegorical. Like she did trip, and she's not actually like it's not really clear as to whether or not it's real. Yeah, she's very much like so over the course of the movie, she eventually runs into a guy named Chad, and he is the most perfect guy on the I should also mention that this girl is a super lesbian. Like just like hardcore lesbian, like the most lesbian you could possibly lesbian.
I mean, that connotates an image. That's
Yes,
yeah.
yes, very much banging women. And so her falling in love with a guy is unheard of. And so yeah, she's told to avoid Chad at all costs because he's this bad guy. And it turns out that Chad is the most perfect guy in existence. And she really
Nicest
likes him.
person ever.
The nicest person ever. There's absolutely nothing wrong with him. And you're never going to watch this movie, so I'm going to spoil the ending of it. But
I mean, I might have.
this
You
also,
don't know.
but if you are going to watch this movie, this is your opportunity not to. So yeah, the whole movie, the future self played by Aubrey Plaza is telling her to avoid Chad, and she's like, "Why? And eventually Aubrey Plaza is like, "No, there's absolutely nothing wrong with him. He really is." She's like, "What's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? You have to tell me. Like it's driving me crazy." And she's like, "No, there is in fact nothing wrong with him. He truly is."
You just like girls.
No, no, no. He truly is the most perfect man alive. You will fall endlessly and like head over heels in love with him, but he dies and it breaks your heart into a million pieces. And I was trying to spare you this pain. And like, I was like, well, okay, that's kind of really dull. I was hoping the twist was going to be that she was the one who did something bad, and like she was avoiding hurting him or something.
I mean,
I'm like, him being dead is kind of a boring result.
I also just think it would have been funny if she had been like, no, yeah, he's great, he's awesome. You're gay.
No, yeah. No, that's the whole thing. She's in love with him, and she's not sure what's happening. She's like, but I'm gay, but I'm head over heels in love with him. And then the resolution, she's like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to treasure every moment I get to spend with him, blah, 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 blah. But, so for most of the movie, Aubrey Plaza doesn't show up. All of the communication happens with her over the phone. She's not in most of the movie.
So what this movie is teaching us is... This is an awful joke. What this movie is teaching us is any lesbian can be turned if you're just the perfect guy.
If you're just the absolute most perfect human being in existence.
Perfect human being in existence, and you can turn any lesbian.
That's sort of what the movie seems to be implying.
That's the moral of the movie.
And
here.
it's weird because there's no real narrative reason for it. They could just as easily have made her bisexual. Like it is kind of odd. But okay, so most of the movie, it seems like, yeah, it's metaphorical, right? Up until the end. So it hits a point where she's like, yeah, she's hooked up with them, and she's just decided she's going to be with him, whatever. And she keeps trying to call Aubrey Plaza, and Aubrey Plaza is not picking up. And then eventually Aubrey Plaza shows up, and she's there. And she's like, you have no idea what I had to do to get here. I had to borrow my girlfriend's friend's weed and all this stuff. And they're having this conversation, and that's where you find out that he dies, whatever. And then he walks up, and he's like, oh, hey. And the young version is like, wait, you see her? And he's like, yeah. And then she leaves, she leaves. It's like, oh, yeah, the resolution is like, she realizes, oh, she shouldn't meddle in the past or whatever. And she goes back to the future and sends her one final message, and then the movie ends.
I have a million questions.
Right,
How is she time traveling?
Where
did
traveling?
she get this ability?
Right?
Like
the movie, and it's like, and it's so.
Is there going to be a sequel to this movie where we then see the movie from Aubrey Plaza's point of view? Because that would be kind of amazing.
Like, and the whole thing is like, yeah, it's fine. Okay, it's not a science fiction movie. It's a coming of age drama. Like, it's not really the point of this. But the minute you make her real is the minute it stops making sense. Like, yeah, her future is so interesting once you find out she's real, because there's a point where they're talking on the phone and all of a sudden there's an air raid siren and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I've got to go. And then she cuts off and you're like, wait, what? Like,
what is going on her end of the phone?
She's from this horrible future, and the movie never goes into it. And it's like, yeah, it would have just been another pass on this script, and it's like, yeah, you make her like the point of it is not that that's not the point of it. But the minute you make her real, then it becomes the point of it, and it makes it not make any sense. You're like, wait, I don't understand any of this now in retrospect.
Yeah, you should have just kept her a figment.
Right? It would have made so much more sense. I otherwise didn't hate it. I thought it was funny. There were some jokes that were funny. I make fun of the guy for being insufferably perfect, but he's a decent guy. He's funny. I was rooting for them. I understand why Jack didn't like this.
Is it because his name is Chad? Is that why you don't like him? Fucking Chad.
Fucking Chad. But he's not a Chad. That's what's funny. If indeed you subscribe to those nomenclature. I hate that language. Anyway, that's it.
My god. He's a fucking Chad.
He's a fucking Chad. God. That's it. That's the rapid fires. That's the rapid fires, Joe. And that's all the rapid fires. We rapid fired our way through those rapid fires.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the have scenes.
The have scenes.
Well, have seen, and then the rest are just all have. One have seen, really. The one have seen is so I guess I start, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
I watched a movie that I have seen it, but I didn't watch it for the show, so it felt like I could use it here. and that's a movie called Upgraded. It's a romantic comedy. It has the girl from Riverdale, Camila Mendez, and a bunch of other people. Um,
Also from
they're
Riverdale?
not. Are they? Are the rest of them from Riverdale?
Oh
I
no,
don't think they are.
sorry. The way you framed your sentence, you're like, it has a bunch of people from Riverdale, Camila Mendez, and other people. I was like, oh,
No, like it has the girl from Riverdale, Camila Mendez,
oh,
and then there's other people.
she is from Riverdale. That makes sense. I understand.
Um, and basically, plot of the movie is she's an intern for like an art gallery person. She's living on her sister and her boyfriend, brother-in-law. I don't remember what he is. Dick. Her sister and his dick, and her dick's couch. Because she's an unpaid intern. And so,
The favorite
her
line I
boss.
heard was when she was like, I have an art history major degree," and I was just internally, I was like, "Wow, you just wasted your money then."
Yeah, she's poor.
Might
She
as well
doesn't have
have
any money.
burned your money. You would have gotten way more use out of it.
And so, her boss has this whole
That was a
auction.
joke. Sorry.
Has this whole auction, which is going to be happening in Europe, uh, England, I believe, and she's all like, I want you to be there because Camila Mendes' character caught a mistake in this whole thing, and anyway, they're at the airport, and Camila Mendes's tickets gets upgraded to first class, business class, whatever, first class, the fancy, expensive one. And while she's on the plane, she ends up talking with. I mean, it's a romantic comedy. I'm sure you can guess. Cute man.
Yeah. Yeah, naturally, yeah.
And and they start flirting back and forth, and like they're having a good time talking, and then they land, and she ends up in the in a limousine of him and his mother is like wealthy, famous British person. And
Very relatable stuff. Very
and
relatable.
and Camilla Mendes's character is like she lies basically about who she is and what she does. So they think that she like runs the art. She basically lies and pretends she's her boss.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Um and so they think that she's this famous uh art museum runner,
Curator.
whatever, curator, thank you. And over the course of the movie, obviously, truth comes out.
The
The
all is
mom,
lost moment.
she goes to the mom and it's like, yeah, I actually lied to you the entire time. The mom is all like, honey, I was using you just as much. It's okay. And then has her do, also the auction that she was there to help work on is actually the mom's auction. So like, she's now friends with the mom, and the mom, after our main character gets fired from her job for lying, the mom is all like, but I actually really like you, and I think we can this can work out for both of us because I was using you too. And meanwhile, the guy that she's had a thing for is like, oh, so you've just been using me to get all this free stuff that you turn around and give to your boss. You're just using me, and this is the all is lost. I'm actually pissed off at you, romantic comedy moment.
The all is
Um,
lost moment. There we go. That was the appropriate time to do it.
and then of course, we wrap it up in a nice little bow where she ends up making the big commission. She now has money. She now can run her own art museum thingy as a curator. The her and the guy ended up together. It's a pretty paint by numbers.
Sounds
Um,
very paint by numbers.
paint by numbers romantic comedy, but I like Camila Mendez.
Yeah,
And it
fair.
was like I quite frankly, if she wasn't in it, I don't think I would enjoy it.
I mean, fair. Also, fair
Also,
enough.
also, I don't see this, but Wikipedia says the film is a modern day retelling of the classic fairy tale Cinderella,
What?
which I don't see that.
What you have described does not sound like Cinderella.
Yeah, I don't see that, but okay. Um, And one day maybe you'll watch it and you'll tell me if it
Perhaps.
gives you Cinderella vibes.
I mean, Jordan.
But
I mean, for just a
it's
sneak peek into the future. We're doing a chick flick episode, and Jordan will be made to watch one to both of them. You know what? Both of them. Both of them. Both of the Sex of the City movies. Both of them.
I mean, fair enough that you want to torch me with that, but I will note, and I'm gonna burn myself by saying this. If you're giving them to me in one episode, at least I'd knock them both out of the way at once.
I mean, I don't care. It'll be worth it. It'll be 4 hours of Sex in this. No, wait. They're both 2.5 hours long. Sorry. It'll be 5 hours of Sex in the City that you have to watch in 1 week.
Oh.
It's coming. It's not coming soon because I just talked about those movies and I cannot do that to myself again. But like, I don't know, maybe in like June or July, there will be a chick flick episode and we will watch Sex in the City 1 and 2.
Great. Ooh.
God, I hate. Is that it though? Is that
So
it?
that's upgraded. It's cute. It's fine. It's on Amazon Plus. And it's okay. If you like chick flicks or romantic comedies, I guess is the term. Um, it might be for you.
It might be. So, okay, so my had scenes are not usually you're supposed to pick stuff you had seen. That's typically the gimmick. But there isn't just a lot of the stuff I had seen we talked about for the show and we talked
Yeah,
about it recently.
same.
Like it's like, oh yeah, I guess I could watch Terrifier 3 again. If I really wanted to. So I really wanted I wanted this to be more about the stuff we didn't see. But I there was some stuff that Jordan had seen that I hadn't seen. So the theme of my had scenes are Jordan saw these. One of which he talked about for the show, and one of which he didn't. Let's do Kung Fu Panda 4 first. Because Jordan didn't get a chance to talk about Kung Fu Panda 4 because we were having tech issues on that episode and we decided to cut the show short.
Because everybody was kung fu fighting.
No, Jordan, that's the one where the song is "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time." Hit me, baby, one more time. But instead of being about love, it's about punching.
Boom.
Okay. My number one critique and note of that movie is just that it's half-assed. It's like it clearly wants to have the moment where all the bad guys come back and you really get to revel and enjoy that nostalgia. It kind of seems like it wants to be about passing the torch, but it does none of it well or in any way that is interesting. Like none of the nostalgia is earned in a way that feels satisfying. Only Tai Lung comes back and he doesn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say we see. I think we see the crane, the one from the second one.
The crane,
but the only voice that they got back was Tai Lung.
Yeah.
So it kind of undercuts that scene because it's like.
Well, okay, you see the bad guy from the third and second one, and I think there are bad guys from episodes that show up. I think from the shows that they've done. I think. Because there's a couple of references that felt really specific, but yeah, the only one who gets a vocal performance is Tai Lung, and like yeah, I won't lie and say that the sections with him aren't fun. He gets an action sequence that's really fun, but like it's just really funny how they can't be bothered to pay any of the celebrity voice cast, so there's an extended sequence of them going out of their way to explain whether Furious 5 aren't in the movie. Like they spent a great deal of time being like, this is why they're not here, and then they show up at the end and none of them speak. It's really obvious that the Aquafina character is going to become the new Dragon Warrior. She's not nearly an interesting enough character for it. The movie doesn't really do anything to set her up in any meaningful or interesting way. All of the performances are lazy. Jack Black doesn't even sound all that enthusiastic about it.
It's a paycheck.
It feels like a paycheck. Like I say, it wants to have these moments, but earns none of it.
My big thing when I watched the fourth one that I remember thinking was that it gave me real Toy Story 4 vibes, where it was like we had a satisfying ending in the third one.
It's doing kind of the same story as the third one. The dads are just kind of there. They have a subplot about them following Poe that's completely pointless that you could cut out. It's This movie made a lot. This is an example of this movie made a lot of money because it's Kung Fu Panda, and it's just a nothing. It's nothing. That's how
Yeah.
I would describe it.
Well, as I am off to say, it's cotton candy.
Yeah, well, it's just, and it doesn't do the hey look at me, I'm hey look at me thing. I recognize stuff well enough. I guess yeah, the stuff with Kung Lao, Tai Lung, that stuff's fun, and there is kind of a fun moment where he long story short fails, and Tai Lung is like, yeah, you suck. He made a mistake or whatever, and the movie kind of obviously ends with him earning the respect of all of the villains, and it's a nice moment. But yeah, it feels unearned. To me, it feels unearned. It's like this.
Yeah,
this feels like a moment from a better movie.
it's one of those things where it's like they wanted it. They wanted the hey, look at thing we have, but they didn't have. They didn't want. They didn't want it. Quite frankly, they didn't want to spend the money bringing all the people and voices back. So they
Right?
wanted this to be like a big crescendo moment where you have all the villains, and if they had been not cheap, they would have had all the voices of the villains. They would have had the five were also there. You would have had everybody, and it would have been a big moment.
Yeah, big
But
celebrate. And it just kind of feels like, oh,
they
yeah, this movie feels like it wants to be an end, but it also kind of sort of wants to maybe do another one if this makes money. So it's not
But it
really
wants to.
definitive in its ending. It's yeah, it's
It,
just not.
it very clearly wants to. It wants to move Poe into the background, like the Shifu position, where it's like it's no longer about him. He's the mentor. Aquafina is the new main character.
But then
She's
he
the
could
one that the
still
adventures will be on. But he can still be there enough that they can call it Kung Fu Panda.
yeah, exactly. Or yeah, he'll be yeah. And I just don't think the Aquafina. It's not. I'm not one of those people who dislikes Aquafina, but it's just her character's just nothing
I just
there.
think she doesn't do a very good job in this movie.
Yeah, I
I
just
don't know.
don't.
I don't know her well enough to care about what she does in her other things. I'm just purely looking at this.
Yeah.
I think she's a very boring, bland character.
It's just a bland. Like she doesn't have the personality that Poe does, and her background isn't interesting enough. Yeah, I wasn't compelled by it. That's for sure.
No, it doesn't do it for me.
The most excited I got was when the scene where Tai Lung fought off all those guys. Like this is pretty cool. I'm enjoying this. And yeah, the more even the moment where she turns into Poe, there's nothing to that moment. Like I'm expecting like a Poe versus Poe drawn out battle. Like I was expecting her to act like Poe or be a demented Poe or an evil Poe. It's really a nothing of a fight sequence. It just kind of turns into okay, and then she uses the staff, and it's like all right, okay.
Yeah, it's a nothing of a fight sequence in a nothing of a movie. In
Yeah,
my
it's
opinion.
stuff that we're gonna talk about. Honestly, I think from this point on, this kind of happens. It's stuff that feels like it should be cool but isn't. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's Kung Fu Panda 4. It's boring. It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon Prime for free. If you can go watch it on Amazon Prime, but it's a nothing of a movie.
So.
Oh, sorry. We forgot the question, which is, well, I guess we'll start it here. Yeah, I'm glad I skipped this. I'm glad I didn't waste my time watching this in theaters.
That's fair. I haven't watched. I haven't. The one that I watched, my first pick was one I had seen, so I can't.
That's fair.
This will be. But moving on to my second quote unquote, this is where I start with my have not scenes, I guess. I have 3 have not scenes. And this is The Tiger's Apprentice.
I've heard
Which
this movie.
it's a 2024 American animated fantasy film based on the 2003 novel of the same name by Lawrence Yep.
All right.
It's produced by Paramount Animation. So I'm pretty sure it was a straight to streaming one. And it was apparently Cartoon Network originally opted to produce a live action / CG hybrid television film adaptation of the novel in the late 2000s, but it never came to fruition.
Oh, neat. What's it?
Um,
How does it look? I've never heard of this movie.
it looks okay. I believe this was one I rented because I didn't feel like sailing the seven seas, as it were. Um, but yeah, it I don't know, look wise, it's kind of a little cheap, I would say. Um, but basically the premise is this kid's grandmother was a guardian who gets killed by magic hoo-ha people.
It's a cool
Um,
people.
and then he is a guardian of this crystal, which has the power of the phoenix in it. And he works in conjunction with these individuals who are capable of transforming using magic. And they take on the form of the Zodiac.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Interesting.
and so his prime protector is the tiger. And so he's
Gotcha.
a guy who can turn into a tiger, and they have magic. They can do magic like
Huh.
abilities and stuff like that. And it's fun. It's a fun, cute little movie. It's not like the most complicated thing in the world. It's pretty much exactly what you kind of picture a kids movie to be.
Is there are there Zodiac guys who are evil?
Well, there's what's referred to as, I have the Wikipedia open so I can try to get the name wrong. So Miss Lee and her baby grandson Tom is our main character, are chased by the Yao Guai.
Yagui. Yagwe?
Yao Guai?
Yagwe? Yagwe? I recognize the
Uh,
name.
Yaoguai.
I'm pretty sure it's Yagwai. I recognize the name.
I think it's Yao Guai. Basically spirits.
Yeah.
Japanese like spirits and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I know it was
Um,
Japanese.
and yeah, Miss Lee fends them off with the help of the Zodiac Warriors, a group of shapeshifters rooted in the Chinese zodiac.
Huh.
Before confront and so the prime enemy that they're fighting is Miss Penny Lu, who is a sorceress controlling the Yao Guai.
Oh, okay.
Um, I'm gonna pronounce it like that because that sounds right. Um, and then, yeah, 15 years later, Tom is living with his grandmother in San Francisco, facing a bully in school. He unleashes a magical force, and then that's what puts the sorceress back on their trail. Grandma dies. He has to be trained how to use his power and protect the crystal and stuff. Because if the evil sorceress gets the crystal, she's going to use it to basically her the grandmother, I believe it's the grandmother,
Honestly, this movie
had
sounds kind of
used
great.
had used the power of the phoenix crystal to create life basically, and made the humans and spirits and stuff.
Huh.
And this sorceress wants to use it to get rid of humans. It's fun. It was enjoyable. I'm not trying to downplay it. I had quite a good time with it, and I would not be sad if there was a sequel to it. Um, in the end, in the mid credit scene, basically near the end, spoiler alert, kids movie, all is lost moment, it looks like our main character is dead. And then the tiger, his one of the protectors and the guy that yada yada yada, goes to the big powerful spirit person who is the magical MacGuffin, and is like, take part of my spirit like his grandmother did for me to save me, and then you can use part of my soul to bring him back to life, which works. And
So
then the mid-credit scene is we see Tom, the kid who had been training, because he has a part of the tiger soul, he can now turn into a tiger.
neat. So could they like combine their souls? So like he could turn into a tiger and then a monkey and then a horse.
Well, it appears that there is some
Is there an
inherent
avatar? Is my question.
it appears that there is some inherent risk involved when you give up a part of your soul or combine souls or whatever, because when the tiger goes to do that, the mystical magic lady um is like, you do realize there's a chance that his dying soul will pull your soul down with it and you'll both die.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
like, you know, who knows? He could have died there.
So
But it's fun.
so
It's
what is it?
fun.
What
It's
is this on?
on what this one is called, uh the Tiger's Apprentice.
What's it on? Sorry.
I believe it's on Paramount Plus, considering it was a Paramount movie.
Oh, interesting. Good to know. That sounds good. I'm
It
gonna
was
check
one.
that
It was
out.
one that It was one that I had to. I believe I rented it off of Amazon,
Neat.
so that I didn't have to, you know,
Yeah.
sail the seven seas, as it were.
Yahar.
Yo ho.
Is that it?
Yes, and I considering this came. When did this come out? This came out in February 2nd. No, January 27th in Los Angeles, and then February 2nd, United States. The rest of the United States, I guess. That's what the release dates
Yeah.
say. Um, I regret having not seen this sooner.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. My second one was a movie you watched, and I never ended up going back to see what you said about it. So I'm hoping you remember what you thought about it. But it was a movie called Fall Guy, and George talked about this movie on the show before. I think we discovered it was mostly a free choice.
I believe that's when I did, yeah.
I quite like this movie. There are some tight action sequences in it that are really good. There's a fight sequence where he's fighting. He's got they drug him. And there's a funny recurring bit where he just sees a unicorn for just like a really long time. There's just a unicorn in the background. But there's a fight sequence with a bottle that's really good. And the very basically the plot of it is, Ryan Gosling plays a stuntman who is in a relationship with the assistant
The director.
Well, she becomes the director, but initially she's not the director, and he ends
Yeah,
up,
I believe origin isn't she initially the camera woman, and then
some,
she becomes the director.
something like that, and he ends up injuring himself in a stunt and goes off the grid and basically retires, and she gets him to come back to work on his movie, which she's now the director for.
The different, not her, not the director.
Oh, the producer. The producer tricks him into
producer.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And she doesn't know that he's going, and he shows up there, and okay, I'm gonna spoil the end of this movie. The short version before I spoil it is that I liked it. I thought the twist was dumb, and didn't really make any sense to me. There's a twist. I thought it was dumb. I'm gonna talk about the stuff that I liked about it generally at the end. But a lot of the practical effects were just really cool. It's really quite a good movie. I recommend it. It's on Amazon Prime.
It's also just nice to have a movie which is kind of highlighting a very important part of Hollywood,
For sure.
which doesn't always get the attention and appreciation it deserves.
So he shows up to shoot this movie, which looks really bad, by the way. Well, I don't know. The final trailer does make it look kind of cool, but some of the dialogue is really bad. He shows up to make this movie, and the main star, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, has gone missing, and the producer has him look for him. And
I thought it was the stunt guy that went missing, not the actual actor. It was his stunt guy that went missing, which is why they needed a new stunt guy.
Right. But she has him looking for the main guy, because there's a portion of the movie where he's out there looking for because that's how he winds up in the drug den with the drug dealer.
I thought he was looking for the stunt guy, not the main guy.
No, he eventually discovers that the stunt guy is missing, but initially I wish I could remember the character's name. But no, initially he's looking for Aaron Taylor Johnson, because he goes to Aaron Taylor Johnson's drug dealer. That's the whole thing. That's how he winds up in that action sequence with the bottle.
It's been too long, I don't remember.
So over the course of the movie, he discovers that this because it's when he's meeting up with there's a lot of weird meta jokes that don't, like, there's a weird extended dialogue sequence where they're talking about the split screen, and then that's when he sees the body, and he's like, oh, I just saw a dead body, and everyone tries to convince him he didn't see it because he was on drugs, and he's like, you were on you were high, remember? And he's like, yeah, but I know I saw the dead body. So he wasn't, he's just looking for, I'm going to call him Chris because I don't actually remember what his name is. But no, he's just looking for the Aaron Taylor Johnson character. Anyway, so the twist turns out that Aaron Taylor Johnson, who that up until that point in the movie has been a bad guy and kind of a piece of shit. Turns out that he's a piece of shit, and he actually killed the stunt double because he's a crazed narcissist who doesn't like having the attention taken away from him. And so he actually sabotaged Ryan Gosling's stunt so he would die, but he survived. And he accidentally killed the other stuntman because he made fun of him for not doing his own stunts. So we kicked him in the chest and killed him. And they're gonna frame Ryan Gosling's character so it looks like he did it.
And the producer has been covering things up all along.
And so I'm like, why did the producer send him to look? That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, there's a.
That's where I say I
It's
don't.
not. It's
I
very.
don't
It's
think
very
he-
much. It's very much. He's looking for the Aaron Taylor Johnson character.
But that doesn't make any sense. You would have him come in to like he's replacing the stunt guy that went missing.
I
You'd
know.
have him looking for the stunt guy.
Yeah, no, but the big thing is he goes to Aaron Taylor Johnson's place like that. Like there's a whole.
Right, because he knew that they partied together.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure you're wrong. I'm looking it up. Keep talking.
But yeah, there's a whole. The coolest part about this movie is all the stunts. There we go. That's where we're going. Because it's about stunt guys. There's a really cool sequence in the ending credits. That's a montage of all the stunts they do. And there's a lot of them where it's like, did they do that in real life? And then you get to the end credits and you're like, holy shit, yeah, they did do that. And man, Ryan Gosling did by looks of it, quite a lot of his own stunts. It's quite impressive. But yeah, it really is a love letter to stunt guys. What does it say?
I'm reading.
Who's
Tom.
right? Tom. Yeah, he's
which
he's looking. That's the alien.
Tom has disappeared after getting into trouble with very bad people, and she wants Colt to find him before his absence causes the already over-budget film's cancellation.
Tom is the Aaron Taylor Johnson character.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that didn't make any sense. Why would you send if you were gonna frame him? Why did you? You're the reason why he discovered that he was being framed because you're the one who sent him looking for Tom. He discovered the body over the course of this investigation. So if you were going to frame him anyway, why did you send him looking for this and you wanted the phone? Why did you send him like looking for it? The only reason why you found this is because you sent him off in the first place. It made the whole thing not make any sense.
I mean, but the reason why they were able to frame him is because he was seen on the security camera going into the place where the body was found. That's why.
Okay.
They otherwise had
guess.
absolutely nothing which tied him to that. You also would need to have him with his fingerprints all over the crime scene.
Well, no, because the whole thing was the reason why how they were framing him is they deep faked his face onto Aaron Taylor Johnson's body. So that's how they were going to frame him. So they could have done that regardless. They didn't need him. They were going to do that. The only reason why they needed him, that's why she needed him to come and do the movie, was so they can get his facial, but they didn't need him to like go looking for him.
I mean, I suppose they needed him to go looking for him because she wanted the star back.
I guess maybe but no, because then at the end he says that she's the one who told him to go into hiding.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been too long since I've seen it.
It's
I
the
don't
one
remember
plot
the
hole
nitty details.
and otherwise a really quite fun movie. And yeah, like I say, there's a really fun montage of behind the scenes footage of all the stunts being done, and they did a lot of them, like almost all of them. They did. I think the only one they doesn't look like they actually did is the big jump at the end that they make him do. That's one of my favorite moments when they're like just make him do his own stunt. That was really fun. Yeah, and then the bit where he constantly forgets he's on his Hey, man, it's easy to forget that you have your lavalier mic on.
Anything else to say about the stuntman, Justin?
No. The Fall Guy? No, it's good. I enjoyed it. It's on Amazon Prime. You should check it out.
Okay. So this would be the point in the show where I would say, so this is like, now we're going to do the have not scenes, but just more have not scenes.
It's just been a whole have not seen episode. So,
I watched The Beekeeper.
Jordan, how old is Jason Statham?
I know what you're going to expect me to say. He's 57 years old, you fucking monster.
I mean, he's definitely beekeeping age.
Yeah, that's right. I ruined your joke. I ruined it, Justin.
He's certainly beekeeping age, Jordan.
Yeah, you're doing a stupid pun. You're doing a stupid bit, Justin. You got me the first time. You're never going to get me again. You should have held on to that for the show.
I should have.
You would have had that.
I wasn't expecting you to fall for it the first time. Because that's a Rick and Morty reference for those of you who don't recognize that meme. Beekeeping age.
But, Beekeeper. Um, so here's my question to you, Justin. Have you ever seen a Jason Statham movie?
I am familiar with them. Yeah,
Then you've seen this movie.
yeah, that's kind of what it looked like.
It's just
You want to see? You
that would
want to see
be
Jason
that would
Statham
be
beat up a guy?
just do a bunch of violence. I mean, you could really watch any of his movies, and it's very
Is it
so
is it is
okay.
it R-rated Jason Statham violence or is it PG-13 Jason Statham violence? There's a difference.
Uh, I don't know where to see that.
Is it
So
was it
so
bloody,
so I'm
Jordan? Was it bloody? Was there blood?
Yeah, I remember there being blood.
Okay,
You know,
then there's a chance.
it's a Jason Statham movie. It just felt like a Jason Statham
I know,
movie.
but Jason Statham movies
Um,
could be either The
so
Transporter or Crank, is what I'm saying.
yeah, I don't know. Anyways, movie follows a retired. I'm going to use Wikipedia's wording here because it makes it sound funny. Clandestine human intelligence operative. You could have just said spy. He was a spy.
I suppose
Um,
that is what a spy is.
um, he was out for revenge after his kind-hearted landlady becomes the victim of a phishing scam, steals millions of dollars from the charity she
So
runs.
someone sells her like a big fake fish. She's like, I'm upset. It's a phishing scam.
You should be ashamed of yourself. That was bad.
There's a phishing. It's a phishing scam.
Spotify can't see I'm shaking my head with disapproval.
It's phishing scam.
No. Um, but it's one of those ones where when I watched it, I was like, "Oh, dick move! Scammers are fucking monsters."
Scammers are the scum of the fucking earth, especially scammers who take advantage of old people. You are the scum of the earth, and you deserve what's coming to you.
Who take advantage of old people that run a charity.
Who take
A
advantage of old
charity,
and often
Justin.
stupid people.
Um, but I mean, what can you say about this? The lead scammer is the president's son. He's also played by, I should know this, Josh Hutcherson.
Oh yeah.
Um, and
You want to see Jason
yeah,
Statham kill a bunch of people who deserve it?
yeah, that's what this movie is. Um, so there's this whole thing where I guess Jason Statham's character worked for an organization which was called the Beekeepers, which makes it feel really on the nose that in his retirement he decides to become a beekeeper.
Yeah, you have to protect the hive.
Um, and so yeah, that's kind of the point of the movie is
So he's definitely beekeeping
he's
age.
he's uh he's in the hive there's apparently a type of bee which if a queen produces like a faulty offspring or a bad offspring, it will kill the offspring and protect the hive. So this movie, that's essentially what he is.
Gotcha.
Um, he's quote unquote protecting the hive, and so there's this point where the current beekeeper comes and is like, "Oh, so you must be the old guy," and he's like, "Oh, clearly you're my replacement." And they get into a fight, and he's just a badass. And then at that point, the beekeeping group basically says to the organizations and stuff where like, yeah, we're just gonna let this see how like we're gonna let the cards fall and kind of see how this
We're gonna see
plays
how this
out.
plays out.
um and um it's fine, it's a fine movie. It's one that I'm kind of not really sad that I ended up seeing on streaming.
Yeah,
I
we did not miss that one in theaters.
No, it's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. Oh yeah, I missed out. I don't necessarily regret not seeing The Fall Guys in theaters. That was a pretty fine and solid streaming film.
That's fair. I understand. So, what's next for you?
For me, my first half scene, since I figure it will end with Venom 3, my next half scene is a little movie titled Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And here's my
I
question.
wonder
Jordan.
what that one's about.
Jordan,
Gee willikers.
Did you watch any of the previous Planet of the Apes movies and say to yourself,
Go on.
and say to yourself, Jordan, there is entirely not enough apes in these Planet of the Apes movies.
I mean, no, I usually felt like there was a decent amount of them.
But were you like, Jordan, there could have been decidedly more apes and less humans?
No.
Jordan, I'm going to need you to say yes for the sake of the bit.
Yes, yes, that is exactly the emotion that I felt.
Well, Jordan, I need you to know that this movie has all of the apes. It's mostly apes. It's almost, in fact, entirely apes. So, Jordan, okay. So this movie takes place 100 years after the end of the previous one. Apes are now more or less the dominant species on the planet, and there aren't really any humans. And apes, because as it turns out, Jordan, any dominant species, when left alone long enough, it eventually devolves into tribalism. So all
Of
of
course.
the apes have developed and what's the word I'm looking for? Split off into their own tribes. And so we follow 3 members of a falconeering tribe whose whole bit is they raise falcons. And when they reach a certain age, they must climb to the top of a mountain and get a eagle egg from a nest and raise it from birth until it is an adult, and then they control eagles. It's honestly kind of cool. And so the movie is about a young ape from this tribe who basically discovers a human who can talk and is completely articulate, and he winds up in this in the kingdom of an evil ape named Proximus, who has taken William H. Macy as his like sidekick, who is teaching him human history, extended human history, and all of the apes kind of just act like humans, except for they all talk like this. They all talk like ape, where they all talk in monosyllabic sentences. Except for
But it's been hundreds of years. Why haven't they evolved to have proper speech?
that's what I'm saying. They should all have proper speech, and they all
Like I could see a world where like that's how you differentiate between the different clans or the different like whatever, where it's like
they all talk
certain
like that.
certain segments are dumber or certain are smarter, like have it be like that.
I should say they drop in and out. Some of them kind of talk like that. Some of them talk like it sometimes. Like the main guy, it's weird. Like the main guy, when he's talking to the human girl, he doesn't really talk. He talks normally. But then when he's talking like some of the apes talk like that, so yeah, it kind of implies that maybe that's how it works. It's really, and then some of the apes still communicate via sign language. And so sorry. So the big thing is Caesar has now become kind of a
God.
a religious figure. He's Jesus basically. He becomes monkey Jesus. And
So wait, he's still alive, or like he's like a figure that they know?
he's a figure that they know because he died at the end of the last one. I don't know if you remember.
I do not.
But yeah, and also it's been 100 years. Yeah, he's dead, and he's basically become Jesus. Where there's a certain like they believe in him as sort of his teachings. They believe in his teachings, which is that ape must not hurt ape, and ape together strong. And the bad guy Proximus, stop me when this sounds familiar, Jordan, has perverted and warped the message of Caesar, and is using it to his own benefit to manipulate.
So what you're describing is a very well-known book which has been used in English classes for decades called Animal Farm. This is just Animal Farm.
Sort of, but more sort of. I would equate it more to interpretations of modern religion, but basically of like, yeah, the
Animal Farm. Some pigs are better than others. Some apes are better than others.
More again, it's more as it equates is Caesar is Jesus, and his teachings are equated to essentially being the Bible. Of like his true message is ape together, ape strong, ape must not kill ape, and Proximus has warped the message into just ape together, ape strong, and has sort of willfully ignored the part where he's not supposed to kill other apes in order to kill other apes, and is systematically, but also
That sounds like ancient religion, definitely not modern religion. We definitely don't do things like that anymore.
And the whole bit is so he runs into this human character who is the apes have taken over, and she wants to bring humanity back, but she's she's not really represent. It's sort of weird. Like the one evil guy, he's treated as like human, or he's human, but he's treated as evil because he's like, oh, the apes have taken over. Where it's not our people are not coming back. Like there's no value in in trying to like bring it back. Why are you fighting this? And like there's this whole integrated ape society, and the ape is like, you had your chance. You fucked it up. It's our chance now. And she's like, no, it's ours. You can't have it. And she's not. What she's saying makes her sound awful, but the movie doesn't really present her as such. It's really weird.
The movie sounds bad.
It's not. It's all right. Some of the action sequences are good. It's the CGI is phenomenal. The CGI is so good that like one of the orangutans who shows up, he's the last follower, the last true follower of the word of Caesar.
Of the Lord and of our great monkey Jesus.
Yeah, pretty much. And he believes in the true message of Caesar. I spent most of the time he was in the movie going like, I recognize him. Why do I recognize him? I recognize him, and I looked it up, and it was the actor who plays Bortus on the Orville, and I was like, oh my god!
Right.
The guy who plays
Oh,
Proximus is Kevin Durant, who you know him from a bajillion different things, but more recently he was Little John in the Russell Crowe Robin Hood movie, and I recognized him, and I was like, it looks like him. So the CGI on the gorillas looks incredible. The action sequences with the gorillas looks like with the apes looks incredible. Like it looks incredible, and it definitely would have looked good on the big screen. And I do to a degree kind of regret not watching it because I think it would have been a fun movie to watch on the big screen, and I like those movies. What I would say is fundamentally, if you like the Planet of the Apes movies, you'll like this one.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
That's the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
I respect that.
Final have not seen Jordan.
Yeah, we're gonna do this very fast because I really don't want to spend too long talking about this movie. It's Madam Web. It was bad. It was bad, and what makes it bad is the same thing that makes all of these Marvel Spider-Man list movies bad. Is there's no Spider-Man, but there's too many in this one in particular. There's too many attachments to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So you have these 3 different Spider-Women, 4 if you count Madam Web. You have evil Spider-Man, and then to top it all off, you have Ben and what's her name, Mary Parker, who are they are having a child, which is alluded to be Peter, but they don't say it's Peter.
Once again, this is one I did do for the show. We do have a video on it, which is called Madam Web. Sure is a movie because it is. Joe, would you agree? It sure is a movie.
Barely.
It's really just an advertisement for other projects they will never make.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, the dialogue is bad. The bad guy, he is. I mean, I don't know if you once they pointed it out. I don't know if you noticed that he's clearly not speaking his own dialogue. He's been dubbed over.
I didn't notice, but to be fair, I could only pay so much attention to this without going crazy.
He looks like Spider-Man for no reason other than to look like Spider-Man. There's no narrative reason for it. There's no action sequences in it. They're in the costumes for like they're not like barely in the costumes, and it's a shame because the costumes look good.
It's not a superhero movie.
It's not.
It is, but it's not.
But it's not. And then I forgot about the fact that he's Ben Parker, which clearly at one point in the writing of this was gonna be a twist, but I'm guessing in test screenings it wasn't obvious that he was supposed to be Ben Parker, so they ADR in a line to tell you that he's Ben Parker because the movie thinks you're too stupid to get the fact that he's Ben Parker, even though it's really obvious.
Yeah, it's a bad movie. Is kind of the point. It also bombed.
It bombed horribly.
Like it bombed very hard. And it's just, yeah.
It's badly acted,
I
badly performed, badly written. It got just Swiss
well,
cheesed in editing.
I mean, I can't. It's one of those cases where it's like I don't necessarily want to be unfair when it comes to the acting because when you're given a shit script,
Yeah.
there's only so much you can do to make that better. Individually, I don't necessarily like. I don't think she's a bad Madam Web necessarily.
Yeah,
I
she's. I
just
mean, to be fair, she's not an adaptation of the Madam Web you know, which is the.
no, she's her own version, and that's not a
Oh no no
bad
no!
thing.
She's not her own version. She is an adaptation of a version of Madam Web. Um, uh, there's a version of Madam Web who is a young woman who I can't remember the exact details of her backstory, but basically it ends with her becoming Madam Web, kind of similar to this. She is not.
Yeah.
She is the Cassandra something version of Madam Web. She's like the second version of Madam Web. The old lady version of Madam Web that you know is a different version. She's not that.
Yeah, that was Stanley's wife.
Yeah, that was Stanley's wife. But that version of Madam Web, she's a different version. She's the first Madam Web. She is in the comics
So
as well.
so my point was just more like the performances aren't necessarily the bad, but like
No, this thing got like torn to
this
shreds in
this
the
thing
edit.
got
I'm
yeah
sure there's an over.
yeah
Yeah,
this thing got Swiss cheesed and it just suffers for it,
part
and
of the
so
problem with
I'm sure if we're talking since we're talking multiverse stuff, I'm sure there's a world where there is a good version of this movie.
oh, I'm
We're
sure.
just not we're just not living in that
Yeah,
world, and that's
we're never
that's
gonna see it.
really that's really all I have to say about that
The
one.
big problem with a lot of some of those we're gonna talk about Venom in a moment, but the Venom movies don't suffer from this as much as like Craven, or I haven't seen Craven, but as much as Morbius or this did, where it clearly wants to be in the Sam Raimi universe, but didn't want to put the Sam Raimi Spider-Man in it because yeah, there's references to like for example, you see the Sam Raimi version of the Daily Bugle. At one point, there's a character that's reading that version of the same thing in Morpheus. In the trailer
Yeah,
for Morpheus,
and I
Spider-Man is literally
believe
in the background at one point.
I believe one of the three Spider Girls makes a comment about one of her or about her uncle or something works at the Bugle.
Yeah, yeah, and I think there's a reference to like weird stuff happening in New York. I think, which is sort of a pseudo reference to, and then in Morpheus, I don't know if I can't remember if it's in the actual movie, but in the trailer he's like I'm Venom. So these movies seem like they want to be, but don't want to be for some. Sony just decided that for some reason they
Which
didn't want to be, which they could have been.
yeah, which is even more frustrating because they could have had full. Yeah, it's dumb. It's a dumb
It's
situation.
so
But
dumb.
that's really all I have to say about Madam Web. It's not very good. It's frustrating that it's not very good because it could have been better.
Right? We
Um,
will come back to the spum. We will return to spum one final time because I have got to watch Craven. When it comes to digitals next year, I have got to watch Craven. I will. My life will not be complete. I cannot go through life if I don't watch all of them. It will be an incomplete thing if I don't watch Craven. So I will come back to Craven.
so, with that being said, I think it's time we wrap up with Venom: The Last Dance.
Also, Jordan will inevitably do Morbius.
It will never be Morbin time.
It will. Jordan, we both know it will inevitably out of a sheer morbid curiosity and for content. Jordan, content. It'll be Morbin time. But yes, we must wrap up with Venom 3. God,
The Last Dance.
The Last Dance. God, what a weird movie. That movie
Not
is
to be
so
n-
weird.
not to be confused with the 2004 movie called The Last Dance.
The Last Dance, which is a different movie. This is Venom.
This is Venom.
The Last Dance, which like yeah, this is another example of this one reminded me of Kung Fu Panda 4 where it was like it's a lot of stuff that feels like it should be cool. Like it feels like I should be excited by this, but it isn't. I don't know how else to describe it.
For me, it's not exciting because we've like you have all the Venoms teaming up at the end, and it's like I guess it's exciting because instead of him having to fight them all, they're working together this time.
Right?
So
Oh, they're teaming
I,
up this time, I
I,
guess.
I guess that's where
And
the
some of
excitement is
them
supposed
look
to come.
cool, I guess. It really reminded me of Iron Man 3, where all the Iron Man suits show up and they're all vaguely similar looking, and you're like, this isn't really all that exciting. It feels like it
No,
should be, but it's not.
like they really want to like amp it because it's his quote unquote last outing.
Well, and it's also like, oh hey,
But
yeah, that's Riot, and oh hey, that's Scream, and okay, yeah,
right, but they've done different symbiotes before
yeah,
in
but
the previous
this
movies.
time it's actually purple instead of just being blue, kind of vaguely silver like Riot
I
was.
mean, right? Who cares? Who
Someone
cares?
who's a fan of Riot would care, I guess. It's just those characters aren't. They're not like Carnage. Those life Foundation symbiotes aren't iconic enough for people to care. Is what I would say. And
Yeah,
like
no,
there's just really long scenes of the bad guys, the Area 55 people, which are just not very interesting. Um,
no. I mean,
the
overall,
this one
I had
feels
a
like
fun
it.
time. I had a fun time with this movie, mostly because of the dynamic. It's the same with all of them.
The best part of
Tom
these movies is
Hardy,
Tom Hardy and Venom.
Tom Hardy, and Venom. They're
When it's
really
just
just pulling it up.
Yeah, when it's just a buddy road trip movie between and there's none of that end of the world life ending world ending stake stuff, and it's just him and Venom on a buddy road trip movie. Like that's the only stuff that's good. But like there were moments where I found myself being like, man, it's been a while since I've actually seen Venom. Like the like the MacGuffin, or I should say the bit where he couldn't turn to Venom or the things would find him, just felt like it was there because showing Venom is expensive and they needed a narrative reason for him to
Yeah,
not be Venom.
yeah. I had that same thought.
I was like,
My
oh,
my
clearly
other
that Venom effect's expensive.
my other thing. So in the beginning of the movie, he's in the MCU,
Yeah.
and then he can just go to to other any universe, his universe,
No,
all
he
the
got
universes.
the implication. Well, in the
Because
original version of it.
in this, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking this movie. In this
Oh no, the
movie,
implication here is that he got sent back when Null sent out all the. That's when
okay,
he
because
got pulled.
that's not what I took from it. What I
Yeah.
took from it was he had been hanging out in the MCU and they got bored and wanted to go home, and that's
No, no,
when
no.
they chose to go
Yeah,
back.
the scene is that he's still in the scene, the ending scene from Homecoming, but instead of him getting teleported by Doctor Strange's spell, it's now been retconned that he got pulled back through the portal, the Doctor Strange portals that Null opened up to send the dog things through. When he opened up the portals to send the dog things through, that pulled Venom back into his own dimension.
I don't think you're right about that, but I'm too lazy to look it up.
Well, it's badly it's what basically the same time that Null sends the dogs out, so it could be that he gets pulled. Basically, he gets pulled through the portal. He gets pulled backwards through the portal. So
Yeah, Wikipedia just says they're forced back.
yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't really say by who.
yeah.
You could still interpret
That
that.
it's Doctor Strange's spell and it's just being visualized differently.
Yeah,
Who's to say? Because the portals that Null is sending the dog things through look like Doctor Strange portals. They just do.
yeah,
So
yeah, they do.
Um, and then
I
yeah,
didn't really. So I feel like the whole null thing is supposed to be this cool thing, and I don't.
yeah,
It meant nothing to me.
he's Venom's ultimate bad guy, basically.
Yeah, it meant nothing to me.
If you're
Um,
familiar with modern Venom comics, it's a big deal. But apparently, it's not a very
I'm
good
not.
representation of him anyway, because fans of Null don't even like it. So
I'm not, and so it meant nothing to me. Um,
but he's too.
I I I really wanted this movie to have Spider-Man in it
I
and
mean,
have a
yes.
Spider-Man fight.
He doesn't work in this movie because he's too dark of a bad guy for this movie. Like, he doesn't ever actually. He reminds me of Thanos in a bad way, where he's like, oh, is he gonna get out of his chair? Oh, he's not getting out of his chair. Oh, he's not gonna get out of the chair.
No,
Cool.
that'll be in the next movie.
Cool. He's not getting out of the chair. Yeah, but they're
The,
not
the,
making another movie. This is the last one.
no, Justin, it's
That's gonna
not.
be in
They'll make
Spider-Man. That's gonna be in Spider-Man 4. He's supposedly gonna show up in Spider-Man 4.
Oh
Apparently,
yeah,
him and Tom Hardy
and
Venom are gonna show up in Spider-Man 4.
I was gonna say that's when he'll come back because
That's when he'll get out of his chair.
because that's the one thing that Tom Hardy hasn't got to do. He hasn't gotten to work with a Spider-Man.
But like that, he's legitimately like intimidating villain. I will give it that. Like, but it really doesn't. It's not working because then you had these weird tone. This movie has a tone problem. This movie has a tone problem because like there's all these weird inconsistent scenes of like him in Vegas doing a absurdly way too long dance number with Mrs. Chen that just goes on for fucking ever.
Yeah, or the scene where he's at the casino doing the slots.
That goes on for fucking ever. Or the bit where he's in the car singing Ground Control to Major Tom with the family, who was a weird subplot that, alright, that was very strange.
Yeah. This movie was like an hour 50 and it could have been like an hour 40,
It
an
could have,
hour.
I said, I would have said it could have been an hour and a half. Easy. Could have been an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But like this movie feels like it's two scripts that got mashed together into one movie. Like it was at one point literally just like the whole movie was Venom and okay, that scene where they kill the Mexican gangsters is from a completely different movie. It's just like it feels like at one point that's what the movie was. It was just a road trip movie of Venom and Tom Hardy on the run, them killing bad guys, and there was also this script for this Null movie, and they just mashed it together in a way that doesn't really work. It does not service either version of this.
The thing is that this is another example where you could have had the Null monsters and have it be where they were hunting them and never show Null.
Right?
Showing Null adds nothing to this movie.
But also
other than they do it just so that you know how scary he is.
Right? But also, and it's also very weird because like, yeah, they almost immediately after Craven came out were like, we're not doing any more of these. So it's a bad guy that like, he's too, if you know him, which I do, he's too big of a bad guy for this. He very much is a Thanos. So like, you set up a Thanos at the end of your story. What? That doesn't make any sense.
What it feels like is in the first draft of this script, it feels like it was largely the same where they were like trying to run from the US government or whatever.
Yeah.
They were on the run and it was a buddy cop movie, and the thing that was hunting them, the symbiote monster that was hunting them, was a thing that the US government created.
I could see that. I could believe that because of it be like fusing back to, but no. Well, I will say the xenophages. They are a thing from that run of.
I'm sure they are. I'm just saying I could believe that there was a world where in an original version of the script they were an homage to those characters.
Well,
they were created in this version of events. They were created by humans.
I would not be surprised if
and they shoved Nolan there.
I completely believe that because it does feel like at one point in the scripting process that the symbiotes that are at the Area 55 were man-made.
Either man-made or they had been experimented on to create the hunter so that they could hunt down the rest of the symbiotes.
I just think that those symbiotes that the people are using, like the bit where I think those were man-made symbiotes because that's why they don't bother to be like, wait, don't the symbiotes like kill people instantly if they're the wrong person to bond with, so they can just bond with anyone now? I suspect that that's why, because the bit where she's running along carrying the purple one, that again feels like a scene from a different version of this script. Like this movie feels like it's 3 or 4 versions of this script all cobbled into one movie. Like that's just it feels like.
It wouldn't surprise me. Sony is kind of notoriously bad for that.
Like I also wouldn't be surprised, if at one point Spider-Man showed up at the end of this. Because it does end with him going to New York. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was a scene where Eddie sees Spider-Man swing by or something. Like, it would not surprise me if Spider-Man showed up at the end of this. It just wouldn't. And also, yeah, okay, this movie is obviously an example of, like, we know how the sausage is made. So, like, you're watching this and you're like, yeah, Tom Hardy's gonna come back for a thing. He's gonna come back. He'll come back for Secret Wars. Obviously, he'll come back for Secret Wars. Why wouldn't he come back for Secret Wars?
He just doesn't want to do another full movie.
But, like, no, please don't. We'll wrap this up because I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else to say?
No, and I'd like to eat.
Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, you said
it reeks of editor notes.
It reeks of editor notes. Oh yeah, you said it best when you said if you pretend that this is a separate character from Spider-Man, has nothing to do with Marvel, is unrelated to Marvel in every single way, they're all right movies. It really says something negative when the best parts of it are the parts that don't involve Venom as a physical figure, but as just a voice.
I mean, yeah, I like the part where where they're with the bad guys and he's like, We are
Venom!
No, we are
Real Venom!
We are Venom! Which are just trailer. They're just trailer moments, which are funny.
They're just there to be trailer moments. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. I don't know if this did badly or well or not, but yeah, don't do Spider-Man 4 where it's Toby, it's Andrew Garfield, and it's Tom Holland and Tom Hardy Venom's there, and the 3 Spider-Men get black suits. Don't do that.
It had a budget of 110 to 120 million, and it made 476.4 million at the box office.
It did okay. It didn't bomb like Craven did. Yeah, Venom is the only one of those that has done well. And you can really blame Venom for why the Spider-Man
that's because Tom Hardy is a strong actor, and him and the voice of Venom are strong enough.
Like everyone,
and they also just take the play, and that was the point that I made earlier off stream, I believe, was if they had used Venom, if Venom had shown up in Madam Web, for example, or had shown up in Craven, or if you had taken Venom and turned him into your Spider-Man,
yeah, it could have worked.
Then I think the rest of the movies could have worked far better.
Yeah, they are consistently the best part of these movies, just hands down, consistently the best parts of these movies. But yeah, with that's it. That's the stuff we missed.
Might have missed.
We might have missed. We didn't miss it all. Jordan didn't miss it all. Jordan saw a lot of stuff Jordan saw more stuff than I did this year. With that, let's do the assignment for our first show of the year. And last year, the first show of the year we did the year we were born. And it was kind of fun to guess what year we were born. So for new viewers of the show, new subscribers who weren't here last year, you all get to guess what year we were born. Because next week we're gonna do the year we were born again. We're going back to the year we were born. You gotta watch the stuff that you have seen. We're gonna return to the regular format. Stuff you have seen, stuff you haven't seen. Try to talk about stuff you haven't talked about on the show before, or anyone has talked about on the show before. Try to keep it all stuff we haven't talked about. And that's what we will do next week. So yeah, you'll find out next week what the year we were born was. I just want to take this opportunity as the final show of the year to talk about. I'd like to do some New Year's resolutions before we do our final end of show plugs. Jordan, what are your goals for 2025 for the show? Do you have any goals you'd like to accomplish?
I mean, I'd like to have a quasi-famous person on as a guest. I'd like to have just more guests, just generally.
I'd like to have more people on. If you want to be on the show, we have options for that.
Other than that. Just more. I just want to do more.
I would like to have a video hit when we've had a video. I would like to have a video hit 1,000 views. That would be
all
nice.
right. You want to know my I want to say this is doable. My goal is by this time next year by this time next year, we have 1,000 subscribers on
Oh,
YouTube.
that feels lofty. My goal was 100. I was
I
like,
was gonna, well, just now 100 is like 14 away.
I
By
know,
next
but
year, that's very achievable. I was gonna say 500, but I wanted to go higher.
500 feels possible. I would say maybe 200 is probably a bit. Here's what I'll say. We did 86 in 1 year. Can we do 86 next year? I mean, I'm hoping that once we start hitting 200,
The algorithm works for
yeah,
us.
we start snowballing into more subscribers. But yeah, at the very least, I'd like to be at 100 next year. That's my very basic
Yeah.
goal.
Okay. I'm picking up your hint. I'll go and make 14 more
I, I
accounts.
want I want to hit triple digits before the end of next year. That's my goal. Um, yeah, lots more episodes. Another anime episode next year. I mean, we constantly talk about that professional wrestling episode. I already mentioned the chick flick episode. Lots of stuff coming. Tune in. I try to get at least one long form video out a week, so you don't have to sit through 3 hours of podcast. We have shorts coming out every day. Hit that. Leave a comment. Yeah, yeah, leave a comment in the video. Let me know. What movies did you maybe miss or didn't miss that you were thinking about watching from 2024? Jordan, end of show wrap up. Where can people find you, Jordan, when you're not here?
I do Minecraft Monday on Twitch on Mondays. That's Gore187, and on the weekends, I sometimes do a podcast.
Hey, sometimes he puts on his podcasting headphones and he does a podcast.
And my podcasting shirt.
And the podcasting t-shirt. Why? It's so big. Okay, so on my screen on Discord, you're the correct way and I'm backwards.
Really, on mine, I'm backwards and you're the correct way.
Weird. You can find me on TikTok. I will be on TikTok until I can no longer be on TikTok.
Tiki Talk?
The show has the TikTok. The show has a TikTok. Spur of the moment P. I have a Google form for those of you who are listening who want to be on the show that you can fill out. It gives me all the handy information, specifically when we do the show at 11 a.m. on Sundays. But we are flexible. Usually we are flexible. We can do the show later as long as it's on a weekend. That's really the only condition. Otherwise, we can pick a topic that suits your interest. So you just let me know what interests you most, and we can talk about it. If you want to sponsor the show, or you know anyone who wants to sponsor the show, we
will hawk your crap.
And we will sell whatever it is you want, especially if you pay us. You can contact me at itsjustinsbusiness@gmail.com. That is in the description. If you want to jump in on the show randomly and scare the shit out of us, you can click the Discord link, join our Discord. You can also leave handy suggestions for movies and shit there. Vote for us in the arties.
Vote.
I think that's it. I think that's the end of the show, Jordan. Hey, on your podcast, Catch Your Choice, leave us a review. Leave us comments, and we'll read the comments on the show, unless they're mean comments. Just as a point of fact, we now have 86 subscribers. I know some people think we only have 2.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. Also, I have people who have informed me that you have bought your subscribers. We don't buy our subscribers. We earn our subscribers organically. We have earned every one of those 86 subscribers. And we appreciate those 86 subscribers. And to reward you, no, we already played the theme song once this week. We're not playing the theme song again. We're just going to end the show here. Have a good week. We'll see you guys next week. Have a happy new year. Stay out of trouble. We will see you in 2025, everybody.